Our boy Lou is trapped within the useless, fleshless shell of a skeleton, and he has already hit the ceiling of this body, so he simply can't grow any stronger. Fortunately, Demon Queen Wu has taken a significant interest in him. She perceives limitless potential in the boy, and to aid him in harnessing it, she invites him into a hidden realm known as the evolutionary blood pool. There, he's meant to soak in this throbbing well of carnage and absorb enough essence to enhance his frail bloodline traits. He wastes no time allowing his weak, bony frame to absorb the blood essence at an exponentially rapid pace. Even the hard-to-satisfy Mommy Wu is genuinely astonished by his absorption rate. However, a certain group of detractors are not pleased with this development. They attempt to sabotage his remarkable evolution process by ambushing him from all angles. Surprisingly, Mommy Wu doesn't even think to intervene, as she already knows he's going to deal with them. A blood cocoon envelops him as he undergoes his evolution while the assassins try to attack as fiercely as they can, but it's already too late. The cocoon shatters, revealing a completely transformed Lou who looks nothing like his prior skinny skeleton self. He resembles a devil emerging from the shadows, the type of devil who doesn't even need to flinch to brutally behead the first two assassins that approach. The other foolish mortals learn absolutely nothing from their friend's fate. They rush forward to eliminate the nightmare confronting them, only to have their hearts ripped straight out of their chests. Lou crushes and pops them like some messed up party balloons. Even the leader of the assassins stands no chance, effortlessly having his head severed from his body. Sugar Mommy Wu is thoroughly enjoying the show now that her fantasy has manifested into reality. She is ecstatic to witness just how effortlessly this boy has slaughtered these seasoned fighters. But you see, our boy wasn't always this formidable. Before he became Mr. Badass Barebones, he was merely a corporate drone working as a developer for the very game he's now trapped in. For reasons unknown, his older brother mysteriously vanished one day while beta testing this very game. Lou essentially gets himself dismissed so he can dive in and uncover the mystery surrounding his brother's disappearance. He also has a younger brother named Faye. The two siblings decide to put on their VR headsets and search for clues regarding their older brother's vanishing act within the game. While Lou was employed as a developer, he secretly embedded the game with an undetectable cheat code that only he knows how to utilize. He exploits this cheat to obtain a hidden scroll, one that enables him to change his profession to the highly sought-after Asura class. But as soon as he activates the scroll, a searing real pain grips his chest as the system glitches severely. The next thing he knows, instead of becoming an overpowered Asura, he's awakening in a nightmarish landscape, stuck in a skeletal body. As he struggles to grasp his predicament, a feeble-looking creature wielding a luminous staff appears, referring to him as its servant. A grin spreads across the monster's face, seemingly satisfied that its summoning ritual has succeeded. Lou quickly realizes that the creature is an epic-ranked boss Rein, the undead summoner. However, to him it is merely another NPC. He attempts to communicate, inquiring about his whereabouts. Ryan gazes at him in astonishment, unprepared for a summoned skeleton to speak. This strange occurrence indicates that Lou is not an ordinary summon but a rare skeletal guard. However, Ryan remains quiet, leading Lou to conclude it is of no use to him. He turns away, intending to seek someone else who can provide answers. His disregard infuriates the monster, who had anticipated its summoned servant to kneel in submission. Unable to tolerate such disrespect, the monster decides that Lou must be punished. Without warning, Ryan utilizes a dark incantation to bind Lou in place. Lou struggles to comprehend what is occurring. As he watches, Ryan prepares to hurl him across the field, claiming it will make him obedient. Just as Ryan is about to strike, a colossal entity crashes down onto him, shattering his form and breaking the chains that held Lou captive. As Lou regains his ground, his eyes widen in shock at the gigantic beast before him. Staring at the enormous figure in front of him, he wonders if he has entered the wrong map, unsure of how he is expected to engage. With no alternative, he tries to summon C, and to his relief she answers. He inquires about his location, and she clarifies that he has arrived in the domain of pure darkness, the origin of the highest tier bosses in the game and the most perilous area imaginable. Now that things are becoming a bit clearer, Lou seeks her judge science on how to advance and if there's any place where he can undertake quests. C, asking for a moment, promptly searches for available information and discovers a mission hub situated a daunting 100 kilometers away. She insists he follow her guidance. Heading towards C leads them along a cliffside path with enormous dragons looming above. This terrifies Lou, but according to C, this is the quickest route. The trip soon brings them into treacherous waters where a colossal megalodon-like creature pursues them. Paddling for his life, Lou asks C what to do, to which she urges him to keep moving. She also tells him about a message from his brother, who discloses that he has already reached level 5 and even obtained a green-grade staff drop. Faye then inquires about Lou, presuming that he must be collecting a lot of items and XP. However, to his astonishment, Lou confesses he's still stuck at level 1. As he is texting, another monstrous creature starts pursuing them out of the water. Eventually, they spot their destination in the distance, a massive structure with figures forming long lines at its entrance. As they approach and see the lengthy queue, C estimates it would take 2 hours to get through the main gate, but Lu, scanning the area, notices another entrance with no line whatsoever. C quickly cautions him that it's not part of the planned route, but Lu has no patience left for adhering to a strict strategy. Conventional or not, he simply wants to get inside, so he rushes toward it with the little energy he has left. Without hesitation, he approaches the entrance where 2 towering boar guards block his path, demanding his reason for entry. He hurriedly explains that he has urgent matters to address. To his astonishment, one of the guards grins, seemingly appreciating his urgency. Without any fuss, they allow him to pass. Astonished by how simple that was, Lu even takes a moment to thank them for being reasonable, but the instant he vanishes inside, the guards burst into laughter, shaking their heads in disbelief. One of them remarks that he has no idea what peril he has just stepped into. Within, a loud announcement declares that the time for the event at Fengyun Tower has concluded, followed by triumphant shouts echoing from within the gate. Just when Lu thinks he's found a way out, a bright light appears at the end of the tunnel. He steps forward, embracing the light only to be confronted by the booming voice of a host. Confusion floods over him as he realizes he has just been introduced as a contestant. The officials begin scanning his basic details, and to their shock, he is only a level 1 contestant. The crowd bursts into laughter, mocking him for being so feeble. Even the host dismisses him as mere fodder. However, the host quickly alters the mood, energizing the audience by suggesting that perhaps this fighter will astonish them. With the formalities complete, he officially announces the commencement of the Battlefest, sending waves of excitement through the spectators. As always, the beloved duo of commentators, a quick-tongued rabbit and a turtle, take their places. Are these from the tortoise and the hare? Despite having heard them countless times before, the rules of the Stormcloud Arena must still be articulated. There are only 3. First, every match is a one-on-one duel, and the last fighter standing is the winner. Second, to maintain fairness, all contestants are adjusted to match the lowest participant's level with a minimum threshold of level 10. Third, unless a contestant surrenders, triumph can only be attained by eliminating the opponent. Regarding rewards, the ultimate champion will receive 5,000 EXP and an epic-grade weapon suited to their level. The arena then implements the level adjustment, making history with its lowest level battle yet. Every participant, now at level 10, grows frustrated. One was just 2 kills away from leveling up, and another can't even use his special move due to the level cap. Furious, they direct their anger at Lu, warning him not to think he stands a chance. With experience in their favor, they think he is merely an easy target. It is only now that Lu comprehends his error. Regret washes over him as he reflects that he should have listened and waited in line. However, fortunate for him, since he is currently level 10, even temporarily, the system recognizes his eligibility to select a starting class. A range of options unfolds before him, momentarily overwhelming him. Then, memories of playing alongside his brothers resurface. They always mentioned he had the ideal playstyle for an assassin. Trusting their insight, he chooses the assassin class, enhancing his stats. The commentator progresses to the next stage, distributing their assigned gear. With that, Lu receives a sharp dagger, making him realize the situation might not be as dire as it appeared. If things take a turn for the worse, he can always surrender and exit without repercussions. But before the fight can begin, the rabbit makes an important announcement stating that they have invited guest instructors, and any contestant who excels might gain the mentorship of one of these esteemed figures. The first among them, positioned to the left, is none other than Blood Moon City's notorious Lord Zhuang Huaishui. He is in charge of managing external conflicts and strategic planning for the city. Under Lord Zhuang's leadership, the Northern Blood Moon Hall has cultivated 70% of the city's strongest young fighters, all trained under his supervision. Being acknowledged by Lord Zhuang is viewed as a significant honor, providing an opportunity to attain power and secure a distinguished future. The audience erupts in enthusiasm, chanting his name in hopes of capturing his attention. The rabbit then proceeds to introduce another highly regarded guest, Blood Moon City's famed beauty, Lady Wu Ye. As the head of the Eastern Moon Hall, she manages resource allocation. Beyond her looks, Lady Wu possesses tremendous and daunting strength. However, she is infamous for being extremely selective with her disciples, and to this day she has only taken on one pupil, Han, the unrivaled genius who astonished Blood Moon City by achieving 10 consecutive wins in the Windcloud Arena. The mention of her pupil sends a ripple of murmurs through the crowd, yet none dare to call out her name, aware of her reputation for being merciless and hot-tempered. Meanwhile, Lu is left speechless upon hearing the name Han. He realizes that if Lady Wu knows anything about his brother, she could be his best chance. His lingering gaze, however, does not escape notice. Lady Wu's keen eyes lock onto him, and for a fleeting moment, she considers crushing him where he stands. But with Lord Zhuang beside her, she opts against acting rashly. Instead, her attention shifts to another target. Perhaps Zhuang's himself should be eliminated first. With the introductions concluded, the rabbit redirects everyone's focus back to the competition. The matches commence, and the opening bout features Bloodclaw of the Bloodline clan, a warrior born with an epic-grade bloodline. Known for their fierce combat skills, the Bloodline clan dominates the battlefield, and Bloodclaw is their rising star. His razor-sharp claws have earned him the title of tournament favorite. True to his reputation, he defeats his rival with a single devastating blow. The second match follows quickly, featuring Bei, the zombie swordsman from the Great Sword Sect, one of the newest and most formidable factions in the South Moon Hall. As the sect's vice-captain, Bei is celebrated for his ruthless accuracy. Many seasoned fighters have met their demise at his blade. Predictably, he secures victory with ease. Next up is Gear, the dual-wielding demon from the distant wilds who competes as a representative of Blood Moon City. His skill is undeniable, and he too claims a swift win. Suddenly, an unexpected outcome shocks the arena. Lu emerges triumphant. The audience is left astonished. His victory was so rapid that most spectators didn't even grasp how he won. Eager to maintain the momentum, the Rabbit wastes no time in announcing the quarterfinals. The initial battle, Lu against the dual-wielding demon Gear. As they enter the arena, Gear glares at his rival with contempt. He sneers and tells Lu to yield, asserting he has no desire to clash with weaklings. In his view, a mere skeleton isn't worth his time, yet Lu remains still. Meanwhile, across the battlefield, Fei has dispatched all the goblins using his fireball spell. The girls beside him shower him with accolades, placing him in the spotlight. However, despite all the flattery, he is certain that if they encountered his younger brother, they would see what true brilliance appears like. He can't help but wonder what Lu is doing and if everything is alright with him. At that very instant, his sibling confronts his rival with steadfast confidence. The rabbit is astonished as he realizes this so-called cannon fodder actually possesses courage, yet Gear remains unimpressed, looking down on Lu and plotting to give him a battle he won't forget. Without hesitation, he unleashes his strike slash, swiftly closing the distance and delivering a powerful blow. To his astonishment, Lu manages to sidestep the attack. Gear dismisses it as mere fortune and repeats the maneuver, only for Lu to evade once more. Frustrated, Gear shifts to his void-tearing slash, anticipating a different result, yet Lu effortlessly dodges again, leaving the host in disbelief. How is he managing that? Our protagonist has already assessed his foe's reach, considering the length of his weapon and the grip of his hand. By estimating the maximum swing radius to be under 2 meters, he concludes that maintaining this separation will reduce the chance of being struck. Since Lu has already created distance, he prepares for Gear's next action. He surmises that the most likely attack will be another flash strike, a linear charge ability that momentarily immobilizes its user. If he times it accurately, he can turn this into his opening to counterattack. Meanwhile, the crowd is deriding Gear with their whispers and doubts, intensifying his fury. Irritated and humiliated by the so-called cannon fodder, he finally loses his temper. Determined to crush Lu, he fully commits to his flash strike. Yet, just as Lu anticipated, the instant Gear executes the maneuver, he is left exposed. Taking advantage of the moment, Lu strikes with a perfectly timed critical hit, concluding the match in an instant. Gear barely has time to comprehend what just occurred as his dreams of becoming the Lord of Oblivion are dashed. The audience erupts in shock and exhilaration, having just witnessed the underdog advance to the finals in such a manner. Now all attention is on him for the forthcoming final. Even Zhuang finds Lu fascinating. However, Wu remains unimpressed, believing Lu is merely a bit clever and nothing remarkable. Yet, since he has at least kept her entertained, she opts to observe him a little longer. Zhuang concurs with her perspective, believing that a weak lineage will always be a limitation regardless of the circumstances. The tournament progresses to the next match, one that many regard as the true championship fight. Bloodclaw goes head-to-head with the zombie swordsman, Bei. Bloodclaw, like many before him, warns Bei that he has no hope of winning, but Bei stands undeterred, firmly believing that as long as he wields his sword, nothing can halt him. With unwavering determination, he executes a formidable combination skill, flowing water slash, a blend of water slash and flash strike, making him 5 times quicker than Gear's flash strike. As it approaches its target, Bei is confident, ready to demonstrate the cost Bloodclaw has to pay for underestimating him. However, he quickly realizes that he is not the one in command. Bloodclaw observes Bei's weapon and without hesitation bites down on it. With the weapon rendered ineffective, it's now Bloodclaw's opportunity to attack. Utilizing his explosive Fury Claw, he finishes the encounter in one swift motion. Even after his opponent lies lifeless, Bloodclaw continues to berate him, showing no respect for the deceased. The crowd erupts with enthusiasm, chanting his name as if they have already found their champion. Zhuang shares the same sentiment, deeming Bloodclaw a worthy candidate to mentor despite his impure lineage. Meanwhile, Lu senses that something is amiss. He cannot accept that the lion could genuinely bite through Bei's weapon. Since all arms are provided by the arena, they ought to be unbreakable under ordinary conditions. This can only imply one thing. Even though he has been downgraded to level 10, Bloodclaw's fundamental attributes far surpass the typical threshold. Before he can ponder it further, Bloodclaw issues a direct challenge. However, Lu remains unperturbed, contemplating the accuracy of his assessment. He lacks a match for Bloodclaw, but winning this contest is the sole means to get closer to Wu, even though he is aware of his disadvantage and the commentator is encouraging him to concede. Nevertheless, surrender is not an option since his only remaining family in this world is his older brother and Faye, and he refuses to retreat out of fear. Regardless of how tough the challenge, he will persist. With this determination, the battle commences. Bloodclaw is more than eager to ridicule Lu, viewing him as a mere low rank being too naive to manage provocation. Standing confidently, he proclaims that he will consume Lu as his victor's banquet. Yet none of his remarks seem to unsettle Lu. Instead, Lu gazes at him as if he were already lifeless. Then, without a moment's hesitation, Lu leaps towards the lion. Bloodclaw instantly observes how much slower he is in comparison to the swordsman from earlier. So slow, in fact, that he casually raises one hand to stop him. But just as he is about to connect, Lu disappears. Bloodclaw barely has time to respond before Lu suddenly appears behind him. Even though he evaded the initial strike, he now comprehends something vital. Lu is an assassin and was simply feigning slowness to catch him off guard. Bloodclaw quickly retaliates with a ranged attack only to watch in exasperation as Lu dodges it once more. The lion's grin vanishes as he now realizes that he is facing an adversary who will not allow him to land a single clean hit. Even worse, he feels a sharp pain. Somehow amid all this, he has sustained an injury. Bloodclaw's eyes widen in disbelief. He has no clue how Lu managed to strike him, and the realization enrages him. He approaches Lu while berating him relentlessly. He activates his ability, Blood War, enhancing his power and critical hit probability by 20% for 15. Observing Bloodclaw unleash his abilities, the crowd assumes the so-called cannon fodder genuinely matches his might. Even Wu becomes intrigued about what this low-level creature with a basic bloodline might do next. It's uncommon for her to find such amusement in a confrontation like this. Bloodclaw leaps at Lu, unleashing a flurry of strikes. Lu blocks each blow, but he understands he cannot endure for long. Overwhelmed, he falters with his crumbling defense. Bloodclaw seizes the opportunity, ready to annihilate Lu entirely. He derides him, instructing him to stay down like the trash he is. But just as Bloodclaw approaches with his ultimate move, Lu reveals his strategy. He has been pretending all along, waiting for Bloodclaw to execute his big attack. That blow, although powerful, leaves Bloodclaw unable to turn for half a second. Lu seizes his chance, activating his backstab skill to teleport behind Bloodclaw and strike. The tactic might succeed against others, but not Bloodclaw. He counters with his Bloodline ability, Blood Rage Roar, immobilizing all foes within 5 meters for 1.5 seconds. The crowd gasps, astonished. Zhuang decides right then to mentor Bloodclaw, impressed by his skill. Wu, however, feels let down. She's finally intrigued by a fighter after such a long time, but Lu's deficiency in skill could spell his doom. Sure enough, Bloodclaw slashes Lu's arm. As he steps back, Lu's fragile bones snap, exposing their vulnerability. His legs give way as well. Everyone believes the battle is finished. Now they wait to see if the skeleton yields or clings to a futile end. Bloodclaw, however, has no compassion in mind. He chuckles at the skeleton's shattered state, devising ways to humiliate him further. Nonetheless, Lu is also biding his time for him to take the bait. Bloodclaw mocks, suggesting that maybe breaking Lu's bones one by one or kicking his skull like a toy might be a clever idea. Lu, on the other hand, remains composed. He feels satisfied sensing his trap is about to activate and counting Bloodclaw's movements. Bloodclaw advances, grinding his foot into Lu's severed leg to taunt him. Unwittingly, he walks directly into the plan. Lu throws his dagger forward, a feeble move that Bloodclaw easily deflects, believing it's an act of desperation, but Lu still controls his other hand. He throws the blade again, pairing it with his backstab skill. In one smooth motion, he teleports and lands a fierce blow on the mighty lion. The lion collapses instantly, astonishing the entire crowd, including Zhuang and Wu. As Rabbit struggles to articulate the words, the other commentator steps in to break the silence. Fed up with being interrupted all match, he seizes his chance. Referring to himself as the rampaging turtle, he takes it upon himself to clarify everything. He tells the crowd that this has been part of Lu's clever strategy from the beginning. Initially, he showcases his speed, striking the strongest despite his own frailty. Then he mocks Bloodclaw, provoking his anger. When Bloodclaw gets serious, Lu feigns weakness, tricking him into using his powerful attack. The best part about all this is everyone believes Bloodclaw severed Lu's arm and leg, but it was Lu who did it himself. Just when all seems hopeless, he activates his skeleton resurrection skill, allowing him to manipulate a fallen bone for a brief moment, setting up his incredible comeback. He takes down a mightier opponent despite being outmatched. Rampaging Turtle gives Lu the title, Genyue Moonslayer. However, even though the lion is in dire straits, Lu attempts to finish him off. Zhuang, however, disapproves of this idea. He wants Bloodclaw as his pupil and intervenes. He pushes Lu back and unleashes a skill to eliminate him. Fortunately, Wu also arrives to support Lu. She leaps in to rescue him, striking Zhuang with her heavenly piercing finger. Her raw power drills a hole through Zhuang's shoulder, prompting him to complain and demand explanations. Wu disregards him, gathering what remains of Lu, whom she has grown fond of. She asserts that he's hers now. Wu completes fixing Lu, restoring him to his former self. He's astonished that his repaired bones aren't just mended, they're stronger than ever. His thoughts are interrupted when Wu powers up another strike, glaring at the rabbit and turtle duo. She warns them to announce the results quickly, or she'll poke them both. Alarmed, they spring into action right after her threat. They declare Lu the new champion of the Stormcloud Arena. The system computes his victories, awarding him 5,000 experience points. He leaps to level 15 and acquires a new ability, Shadow Step, which enhances his speed by 20%. His stat surge, and then comes his next reward, an epic weapon suitable for his level and style, the Bloodstained Blade. It converts 10% of his damage into healing, a rare vampiric ability that astonishes the commentators. It's ideal for prolonged battles, a crucial edge for what lies ahead. Wu doesn't waste a moment. She informs her new partner that they are initiating the Stormcloud disaster. Lu, unfamiliar with this whole Stormcloud arrangement, doesn't grasp what that entails. He inquires and the rabbit understands, clarifying it. The Stormcloud platform divides into 2 stages. The arena battle selects the champion, then the disaster drops that champion into the player realm as a timed boss. For 1 hour, the boss, him, must endure and hunt players for experience and points. Those points can be exchanged for potent skills, weapons, or status enhancements. As the rabbit is explaining, Zhuang begins yelling in fury, enraged that Wu struck him. He reminds her that he is the North Hall Lord and demands to know if she intends to incite a war. She remains silent, so he threatens to report her to the city lord. Still ignored, he resorts to insult, calling her a greedy schemer intent on pilfering his army supplies and rebelling. They both start bickering like 2 Chihuahua dogs. Noticing this, Lu, along with the commentators, bolts from the scene. Before chaos ensues, Lu requests to be taken to the next event. Suddenly, a portal appears, but Wu cautions Lu not to mess up. If he can't eliminate 1,000 players, he shouldn't bother returning. He drops into the player realm, and his random achievement manual activates. Since he's past level 10, it generates mission, kill 1,000 players just as Wu instructed. Fortunately for him, the system announces his arrival to everyone, urging them to hunt him. He lands near some inexperienced, gearless players, who are a bunch of easy targets. Before he swings, a cheat item detects his level up and automatically equips, enhancing his stats. It upgrades every 10 levels, granting him a random assassin skill with an option to swap it later. As the system selects a skill, 4 novice players charge from all directions. He dodges every attack effortlessly. The system finally chooses a skill for Lu, Hunting Scourgeblade. This allows him to unleash 4 rapid slashes on a target, starting at 110 damage and escalating to 150% by the final hit. If the skill eliminates someone, the slashes continue, locking onto a random enemy within 10 meters. It also includes a strong bonus. Each kill adds 150% physical damage slash. Clever as he is, Lu knows how to optimize it. He slices through foes, hitting hard and quickly. He realizes if he weakens several players first and then activates the skill, his hunting prowess doubles. It's as if he's unlocked an auto-kill mode. After cutting them down, he calls C to ask if others can trace him. She confirms, revealing that the system broadcasts his location in real time, which only fuels him with dark energy pulsating around him. As players converge, he unleashes his wild side, tearing through them like a train. Afterward, he perches on a tree branch, contemplating his next move. Fewer players are appearing now, and since he can't loot their gear, remaining there seems pointless. Before he jumps down, a greedy solo player strides in eagerly. This guy intends to grab all the fallen weapons for himself. Lu isn't going to allow that. He swiftly slits the guy's throat in one fluid motion. As the player disappears from view, Lu begins searching for additional targets. That's when the next wave of greedy players shows up. In a flash, Lu slices through them all like they're nothing. His kill count rises to 444, but that's still insufficient. Instead of waiting, he opts to go hunting, but that recent encounter sparks an idea. He sends his current coordinates to his brother, hinting that something valuable is waiting for him. His brother thinks it's a present or for some sort of assistance for his journey and rushes over, but upon arrival he freezes, astonished to see hundreds of player corpses scattered about. Meanwhile, in another section of the forest, lightning splits the sky as a lone player. Luna takes down an epic boss all on her own, known as Moonlight Knight, with the prestigious Dazzling Nova title gained by ranking among the region. Top 100. She exudes power as she claims her latest trophy, Heart of Resilience, an epic bracelet that enhances her stats and has a 20% chance to activate during control attacks, boosting her resistance by 20 points. Perched on a tree branch, Lu observes in wonder. It's the first time he's witnessed someone solo an epic boss. Curious, he asks C to retrieve details about the Moonlight Knight class. She finds the information in moments. It's a rare swordsman class that combines strong stats with attacks mixing both physical and magical damage. Easy to grasp, but with tremendous potential in the right hands. Meanwhile, Luna senses someone observing her. She scans her surroundings, but before she can identify the source, a group of suspicious-looking players interrupts her contemplation. They attempt to swindle her out of her epic bracelet, but Luna isn't easily deceived. Rather than indulge their tricks, she proposes a challenge. If they want it so desperately, they'll need to fight for it. One of them, a cocky smooth talker, tries to charm his way out of it, even flirting for her number. Luna shuts him down without hesitation, daring him and his crew to prove their might. Thinking they have the advantage, they jump at the opportunity, only to be effortlessly cut down by her starlight slash. As his comrades collapse, the leader of the group realizes he's in way over his head. Panicked, he name-drops his guild, warning Luna that they'll pursue her if she kills him, but Luna is unfazed. With a clean, precise cut, she leaves a scar across his face. With that settled, Luna calls out to the observer above. Without delay, Lu drops down. Up close, she's taken aback to discover he's a boss-level monster. Just as surprised that she noticed him, Lu hesitates. They both understand that a confrontation between them would be fierce and frankly not worthwhile. Before they can decide their next action, a swarm of players emerges from the shadows surrounding them. The crowd divides into two factions, one out for Luna's blood after she scarred their leader, the other targeting Lu as a raid boss. With no clear escape route, Luna and Lu lock eyes. Then, without a word, they charge at each other only to fake it. At the last moment, they veer off in opposite directions, slipping past the groups that weren't pursuing them. The ploy works. The mobs overlook them, allowing both to escape, but their chasers quickly catch on and give chase. In the chaos, the two groups crash into each other, neither willing to yield. Shoving escalates into scrapping, and suddenly, it's a full-blown brawl exactly as planned. Luna and Lu double back, ambushing the tangled chaos from all angles. With comrades mixed in, players begin swinging recklessly, making everything worse. Friendly fire ignites a chain reaction, and soon, they're battling each other instead of their actual targets. The strongest among them hold firm, convinced they've dealt with Luna and Lu until Lu unleashes his hunting scourge blade. Like an unstoppable kill machine, he mows down anyone in his way. His player kill tally reaches 999. As the dust settles, Luna remains upright. Without a moment's hesitation, they spring at each other, ready to finish it once and for all. But just like that, the system chimes in congratulating Lu on achieving the random accomplishment task. Somewhere else, Luna sits in a wheelchair, gazing at the sea. She belongs to the affluent Bai family. Luna appears frail, the VR helmet resting in her grasp. Her maid inquires if she's hungry, but she declines. Afterward, she heads to her room and jots down notes about the boss she just faced in the game. The scene shifts to Lu stepping through the portal. As he does, his random achievement alerts. He's reached 1,000 kills, earning a legendary item, Enchanted Divine Earrings. These allow him to change races, gaining new appearances, a racial talent, and language skills. He's pleased that this reward is both adaptable and impactful. The system chimes again, commending his Stormcloud Catastrophe run, granting him 1,000 contribution points and enough experience to reach level 21. He also acquires a new skill, Rending Burst Blade, which amplifies his next attack to an 80% damage, ignores 20% of a foe's defense, and has a 20% chance to inflict bleeding. Emerging from the portal, he is met by a roaring crowd. Even the commentators hype up his 1,000 kill record, calling him the up-and-coming star of Stormcloud. However, Zhuang is not pleased. Lu dismisses the naysayers, focusing instead on Wu, who stands in front. She seems impressed that he didn't disappoint her. Considering him worth her time, she flicks her hand, creating a portal and instructing him to follow. They step into a hidden area, Blood Moon City's evolutionary blood pool. Lu is astonished because nothing like this exists in the game he knows. As he contemplates it, Wuz interjects, asking if he understands why Bloodclaw, despite being leveled down to match him, still overpowered others so easily. Lu nods assuredly and reveals the answer: bloodline. Just like equipment varies in quality, a monster's might relies on its lineage, and his is the weakest. Looking around, Lu asks if this place is intended to enhance bloodline attributes, and Wu confirms it. According to her, it is one of the secret realms under her control, and he can select any area he wishes to strengthen himself. With a grin, she adds that his evolution hinges on his luck. Meanwhile, in Blood Moon City's North Hall, Zhuang is furious at Wu for humiliating him. He also blames Lu for causing him to lose face. His assistant attempts to calm him down, assuring him that defending the Lion Clan will boost his reputation and demonstrate his loyalty to them. Despite this, Zhuang's fury persists. The assistant then whispers a provocative idea into his ear, one that Zhuang instantly finds appealing. Back in the secret realm, Lu absorbs the blood energy from his surroundings while Wu watches him. She can't conceal her fascination that his absorption speed is exceptionally quick, indicating his remarkable potential. However, her thoughts are soon interrupted when someone calls her name. Turning around, she sees the Black Death Guards from the City Lord's mansion. They inform her that the City Lord has summoned her to the main city immediately. She refuses to comply so readily as she is currently occupied. She requests them to hold on until she is free, but since they are not her subordinates, they have no intention of heeding her desires. The captain then presents the City Lord's Blood Summon Decree, a direct command that necessitates immediate obedience. Non-compliance results in instant execution. Left with no alternatives, Wu consents to accompany them. Before leaving, she gives Lu an enigmatic warning about occasional rock slides in the nearby mountains, advising him to remain vigilant to avoid being crushed. After she departs with the guards, the captain smirks, pleased that everything is unfolding as planned. Moments later, Lu's transformation approaches its conclusion as the blood energy surrounding him intensifies, gradually engulfing his entire form. Before long, Lu is nowhere to be found, entirely submerged in the blood. This is precisely the moment his adversaries have anticipated when he is unable to stop his evolution and becomes defenseless. Without hesitation, the leader of the Shadow Squad gestures to his subordinates to strike. They waste no time in executing his command. However, what they fail to realize is that Lu's absorption process is significantly quicker than they expected. He awakens just in time, unleashing a tremendous force that sends his attackers soaring. Meanwhile, Wu and the guards continue their journey up the mountain. The captain grins, satisfied that even a formidable entity like Wu is compelled to obey after receiving the blood summoning order, but his confidence is short-lived when, much to his astonishment, Wu abruptly halts following them and casually perches on a rock. When he demands an explanation, she simply disregards him, content to admire the view of the blood pool below where several overconfident assassins are now rushing to bring Lu down for the credit. The fastest assassin reaches Lu's resting location first, slicing through the blood sphere in an attempt to finish him off. The formation shatters, and they prepare to confirm their kill. Yet to their astonishment, Lu is still intact. Confusion spreads among the assassins, particularly the one who initiated the attack, as he is certain his blade connected. Determined to complete the task, they rush in for another strike, only to be halted in their tracks. As they get a clearer view of their target, utter disbelief fills their eyes. Lu has completed his evolution, emerging with an aura so overpowering that they freeze. But before they can even grasp the situation, Lu strikes. In an instant, he decapitates both attackers. The commander, stunned by what he just witnessed, quickly regains his focus. He knows that there's no time to squander. They must fulfill their mission. Without hesitation, he commands a coordinated assault. The squad initiates their attack with accuracy, working together seamlessly. Yet, Lu effortlessly takes a step back, evading them with ease. He understands they're far too slow for him now. Before they can even comprehend what just transpired, Lu is grasping their hearts in his hand, eliminating them all, but the commander refuses to overlook that affront. He launches a full-force assault on Lu, each strike carrying an intense aura that amplifies his strength several times. However, Lu remains utterly unfazed, dodging with ease as if this battle is trivial to him. Witnessing the commander charge again, a sly, almost derisive grin forms on his face. At that moment, the commander comes to a harsh realization. He is completely outmatched. Before he can even react, Lu strikes. In an instant, his left arm is ripped clean off. Staggering back, he grips the wound, barely able to process what just occurred. All the information he had on Lu was utterly misleading. Despite that, he knows he has no other option but to eliminate Lu. He was entrusted with this task by Zhuang, and failure is not something he is prepared to accept. Howling with determination, he calls upon the hidden assassins still lying in wait. They immediately grasp the urgency and commence the blood sacrifice ritual, taking their own lives to channel their energy into empowering their commander. The ritual's impact is instantaneous. His power surges, and even his severed arm regenerates as if it had never been lost. Now, with newfound strength coursing through him, he focuses on mutilating Lu. Lu stays composed, regarding the commander as merely a trivial hindrance. To assert his superiority, he deliberately thrusts himself into the enemy's reach. As he narrows the gap, he suddenly reverts to his bony form, tricking the commander into thinking Lu's transformation is faltering. Emboldened by this perceived frailty, the commander lunges with renewed assurance. However, Lu effortlessly dodges each attack. Seizing the ideal moment, he shifts back into his fiendish form mid-action and in one decisive sweep beheads the commander. A look of pure disbelief is frozen on the commander's face as his headless body collapses to the ground. Meanwhile, Wu observes from the sidelines, applauding Lu's impeccable execution. She is more than pleased with the result. Lu, however, is more focused on uncovering the truth. He asks whether these assassins had ties to Zhuang, to which Wu affirms, revealing that even the guards who had captured her were linked to the same faction. Nonetheless, she had already dealt with them in her own fashion. This revelation causes Lu to realize that Wu had understood their intentions from the very start. The understanding leads him to suspect that this ordeal may have been arranged as a secondary test. But to Lu's embarrassment, Lady Wu appears more intrigued by his junior than his transformation. Noticing where her gaze is directed, Lu swiftly shields himself from her scrutiny. However, to his further mortification, Wu, clearly unfazed, instructs him to lower his hands. Amused yet satisfied with his performance, she offers him a single wish, granting him the chance to ask for anything he desires. Yet, Wu is no pushover. Instead of indulging in her teasing, he inquires about the fate of his brother Han. Upon hearing the name, Wu exhales deeply before delivering the heartbreaking news: Han is already gone. Upon hearing this, Lu momentarily freezes, then presses Wu for further information. However, before responding, she reminds him that this is his second inquiry according to their previous agreement. Yet, recognizing the weight of his sorrow, she chooses to comply. First, however, she seeks to grasp his desperation. She asks why he is so determined to discover the fate of her former disciple. Without hesitation, Lu reveals the truth. Han is his older brother. As he speaks, memories from his past resurface. He recalls the orphanage, a place whose name he can no longer recollect. In that harsh world, bullies roamed freely, preying upon the vulnerable. Lu and Fei had endured their torment multiple times. One day, as the bullies tormented them, threatening to destroy Fei's cherished teddy bear, Han appeared from behind and struck them left and right. The beating was sufficient to send them fleeing. Curious, Lu asked Han who he was and why he had come to their aid. With a sly grin, Han introduced himself and offered some guidance. No matter how challenging a situation becomes, always smile. He then made a vow. He would safeguard them regardless of how dire circumstances turned. Back in the present, Wu observes the expression on Lu's face and reminisces about her time with Han. She recalls how he used to request leftover items, things most would discard, simply so he could give them to his siblings. Remembering this, she mentions a place called the Infernal Purgatory. Nevertheless, Lu stays perplexed, unable to comprehend what she signifies. Wu then recounts how everything transformed after Han triumphantly defended his title as the Stormcloud King by vanquishing the King of Knights, Daeguden. This extraordinary victory represented his 10th consecutive success, solidifying his reputation as a mythical figure. As per usual, he participated in the Stormcloud catastrophe event, but this occasion something was amiss. He never returned. Even after 4 hours had elapsed, there was no trace of him. It was a rarity since participants were usually forced back once the event concluded, yet Han remained absent. Growing more anxious, Wu utilized every resource she had to search relentlessly for him. Despite her attempts, it took a considerable amount of time before she finally discovered his last known location, a domain referred to as the Infernal Purgatory. Now that she is aware of Han's whereabouts, Lu wonders why she hasn't merely gone there to rescue him. Wu clarifies that an unknown force obstructs access to the realm, preventing her from teleporting in or intervening in any manner. Confronted with this dilemma, Lu strains his mind for a solution, but none arise. Resolute to proceed, he reaches out to Si, seeking her help in finding pertinent information regarding the Infernal Purgatory. However, at the moment she tries to access the data, she starts to malfunction. Moments later, a system notification appears indicating an error. Recognizing this pathway as a dead end, Lu has no option but to delve into the database himself. Si tells him that he lacks the required privileges to continue, yet Lu remains undaunted. Having played a vital role in the game's development, he possesses a thorough understanding of its mechanics and is confident in his ability to circumvent these barriers. Switching to manual input mode, he gets to work on a solution. Lu enters the secret codes. As each clue falls into place, he grows increasingly certain. This location holds the answers he is searching for. As he successfully bypasses the system, he finds himself encircled by a sea of floating codes. Wasting no time, he opens a system tab to extract the code for Infernal Purgatory. However, as soon as he inputs the term, system errors inundate the interface, cautioning him that any further actions would be deemed an illegal intrusion, resulting in expulsion from the system. Refusing to relent, he commands the system to unveil the source code. But instead of gaining entry, he watches in shock as the code begins to self-overwrite. The anomaly leaves him stunned, but before he can react, he is forcefully ejected and abruptly finds himself back with Wu. She does not acknowledge his sudden disappearance, instead continuing their conversation as if it was never interrupted. She reiterates that she has shared all she knows and suggests that if he remains skeptical, he should seek the truth for himself. Realizing he has no choice but to investigate firsthand, Lu prepares to venture there himself. Before leaving, he requests another favor, but Wu reminds him that this would be his third request, meaning he cannot expect further assistance at this time. However, she unacceptably changes her mind, permitting him to ask. Without hesitation, he queries about directions to the other realm. Wu informs him that the only known method is through the Stormcloud catastrophe, which he has already completed and is constrained by a time limit. She expresses concern, pointing out that even Han, after awakening twice in the evolution blood pool, was unable to return, and considering Lu's current state, impatience could be perilous. However, Lu scarcely registers her words as he is lost in thought, unwilling to remain passive when he is so close to finding his brother. Before he can devise a solution, Si interjects, revealing that she knows a way to cross over. She instructs him to follow her, and without hesitation, he complies. Wu, however, remains unaware of Si's presence and becomes confused by Lu's behavior. When she questions him, he explains that he has discovered a method to reach the player's world, what she calls the other side. This revelation piques her interest as she wonders how he has acquired this knowledge, but sensing his urgency, she postpones her inquiries. Meanwhile, in the player's realm, a colossal explosion erupts within a dense forest, incinerating a swarm of moth-like creatures. The devastation is the result of the formidable firestorm mage Fei, who has now attained level 23. His command of flames not only establishes his supremacy on the battlefield, but also draws the admiration of numerous female players. Captivated by his fiery skills and charm, they flock around him. Although Fei's focus lies elsewhere, he redirects the discussion by asking about the location of a lucrative equipment vendor that the girls had mentioned earlier. The girls affirm the merchant's closeness, and he proceeds on his journey with eagerness, anticipating a meeting with the vendor they praise so highly. In a gesture of kindness, he even promises to buy the girls new gear after concluding his purchases. However, as Faye explores deeper into the forest, he spots a group of players obstructing his way. Suddenly, more players appear from every direction encircling him. Their sinister motives become immediately clear when they label him as their scapegoat. Recognizing the looming peril, he swiftly tells the girls to stay behind him as he readies his magic. To his disappointment, the very individuals he sought to protect reveal their true nature, betraying him by attacking from the rear. Confusion overwhelms Faye as he struggles to understand why they would betray him after his generosity. Nevertheless, his inquiries are soon answered in an utterly unforeseen manner when he overhears the guild members referring to these alleged beauties as his brother. To his shock, the three enticing figures from the North Guild are in fact men in reality. This discovery ignites Faye's rage, not because of the loss of riches, but due to the treachery of his trust and feelings. Resolved to seek vengeance, he gets ready to counterattack. However, before he can strike back, his adversaries commence their assault. Faye proves quicker than they expect, delivering a blazing punch that knocks two of them down instantaneously. More men rush at him from behind, but he retaliates with a powerful area fire attack, taking down several at once. Despite his skill, he finds himself outnumbered, and the skirmish begins to take its toll. An arrow shot from the shadows nearly hits him, but his remarkable reflexes enable him to deflect it just in time. As the conflict escalates, a feline warrior closes in for the kill. Faye successfully parries the strike using his abilities, but his mana levels are alarmingly low. The situation becomes critical, as he has already depleted his potions during earlier level grinding and he gave some to the deceitful players. Acknowledging his dwindling strength, his opponents confidently assert their superiority, revealing their true aim, the valuable gear he acquired from the limited-time boss. They caution him against resistance, informing him that their guild has surrounded the area. Should he refuse to comply, they pledge to camp his corpse until every last piece of his gear drops. Frustrated and trapped, Faye exhales deeply before unleashing a barrage of insults. Infuriated by his mockery, the white-haired leader of the guild readies to bring him down. Accepting his fate, Faye silently apologizes to his second brother for failing to safeguard the wealth entrusted to him. Just as the lethal blow is about to fall, a shadow appears behind the white-haired leader, delivering a fatal strike that eliminates him immediately. The mysterious figure is none other than Lu. Spotting Lu, Faye is momentarily taken aback, but swiftly becomes thrilled when he realizes it is indeed his brother, now in his human form and at level 23. As Lu asks about the situation, Faye immediately launches into his typical whiny act, begging his brother and insisting that it was the ladies who attempted to rob him. The so-called ladies, or rather femboys, initially seem worried upon seeing Lu. However, their concern quickly shifts to excitement as they eye him, suspecting he might be carrying valuable items. Just as they prepare to strike, they abruptly discover that their entire group has already been wiped out. Before they can even react, Faye appears behind them and, with a sarcastic tone, questions whether they were genuinely threatening him just moments ago. One of the femboys hurriedly denies it, but it's already too late. Without hesitation, Lu and Faye swiftly defeat them and walk away as though nothing occurred. As they move on, Lu shares details about the Infernal Purgatory, a mysterious location he recently learned about, which may contain clues regarding their missing brother. However, Faye dismisses it, asserting that no such place exists. Lu, though doubtful, understands that even if it is real, their current strength is far from sufficient to reach it. For the moment, they decide to make their way to the nearest town. After a long trek, they arrive at the southern suburbs in a place known as Nakanda Town. As they wander through the streets, Lu slowly realizes that the town feels strangely familiar. Meanwhile, Faye is too occupied shamelessly flirting with random NPCs to notice anything. At a nearby equipment recycling shop, two players eagerly hope to obtain a rare purple-grade item, knowing that lesser gear hardly fetches much. Lu steps up and showcases his premium-grade gear. The shopkeeper examining it closely announces it's valued at 95,000 gold. Faye nearly leaps in joy, realizing that this sum is equivalent to tens of thousands in real-world currency. Just as the transaction is about to be completed, Lu casually compliments the shopkeeper's hair, an obscure in-game Easter egg. To Faye's amazement, the shopkeeper beams with delight and promptly raises the trade value by an additional 10%. Faye is puzzled, to which Lu clarifies that he created the Easter egg himself. This astonishes Faye so much that if he were a female, he would certainly kiss Lu for real. After receiving 100,000 gold, they unlock a wealth achievement. As Faye walks through the town, he becomes the focal point of attention because of it. After that, they proceed to the auction hall to sell the remaining items. A long queue stretches outside the hall where two twin guards block the entrance, demanding a 10,000 gold fee just to get in. A young player at the front of the line begs the guards, explaining that he's just a bit short, but they turn him away, causing the bystanders to mock him for wasting their time. However, to the boy's surprise, Lu and Faye take him along. Seeing Faye's wealth title, the guards instantly open the gate and respectfully usher them inside. Once inside, a grand hall is filled with other affluent players. The young boy expresses his gratitude to both of them and promises to repay their kindness someday before departing. After some time, a lady arrives and hands Faye a VIP black gold card stating that she will assist him throughout the process. She outlines the features of the card. Faye can enter without waiting in line. The auction house will only take a 5% cut and he can easily secure a loan using the card. Out of habit, Faye begins flirting with the assistant, causing Lu to sigh in embarrassment. However, Lu's focus shifts when he spots a woman swiftly gliding past him. The assistant lady escorts them to their private room where they sit at a tea table as she elaborates on the auction details. According to her, epic equipment is highly sought after and the lightsaber, Stardust they acquired will be submitted to the ultimate auction to fetch a high price. She proposes that they take part in the auction as they might discover something beneficial. However, Faye disregards everything she mentions and flirts incessantly, prompting Lu to tap him on the head before handing a list of desired items to the assistant. After a short while, the ultimate auction commences. The auctioneer energizes the audience, revealing that they have some truly exceptional items for the day. The first treasure up for bidding is the Roaring Heart of Flame, a powerful artifact effective for fire attributes and particularly effective against wooden monsters. The bidding starts at 25,000 gold and swiftly escalates to 50,000 raised by guest number 9. This astonishes the auction attendees as the item had previously sold for a maximum of 28,000. Guest number 8, an elf named Xiao, is accompanied by a woman who is clearly a gold digger. He ultimately secures the Roaring Heart of Flame, frustrating two players who had come specifically for it. As one of them inquires about Xiao, the other explains that he is a crypto mogul advising against causing trouble and suggesting they wait for another chance. Meanwhile, Faye also believes that 50,000 for that item is way too much. The host then introduces the next item, a special custom piece called Loving Maid, which transforms the wearer into a maid. As the bidding kicks off, one guest emerges victorious with a bid of 66,000 and wins it. However, to everyone's astonishment, the guest, resembling a femboy, puts it on immediately, appearing like a full-fledged drag queen. The next item is an epic tier piece of equipment, the Lone Wolf's Battle Boots, which have a 2% chance of triggering axle mode while moving. As the host announces the starting price of 40,000, instantly raises it to 80,000, infuriating the other bidders. After that, Xiao continues to outbid most of the subsequent items, forcing other players to exit the hall in frustration since they can't win a single bid. Faye is annoyed too, but Lu remains composed, asserting that they will need Xiao's assistance for their own item, which is coming up next. Finally, the host presents the last item, Stardust, the one Faye and Lu submitted. According to the host, this rare item possesses light attribute attacks that become effective after reaching level 30. As the starting price is revealed, Xiao immediately places a bold bid of 250,000, confident that no one will surpass him. However, to his surprise, Faye, who is sitting in the back, raises the bid. This catches Xiao off guard, resulting in a fierce bidding battle between them. As Faye reaches 500,000, Xiao falters, contemplating whether to concede, but his pride and love for the thrill of victory compel him to elevate the bid to 600,000. Faye, feeling a touch anxious, readies himself to outbid once more, but Lu halts him, prompting the host to commence counting down on Xiao's offer. Just as the countdown nears its conclusion, a voice from the rear suddenly submits a 1,000,000 bid, instantly claiming the item. The crowd goes quiet as a mysterious girl captures everyone's attention. As the auction concludes, Faye is ecstatic about earning such a substantial sum, while Lu begins tallying their total earnings. However, to his astonishment, even after receiving 1,000,000, the figure on their VIP card hardly shifts. This indicates that there are significantly wealthier players in the city above them. Still, they decide to overlook it. Today, they have made more than enough to achieve their objectives. After the auction, they start making their way toward Bushkole Village. As usual, Faye is chattering away, filling the air with his banter when Lu suddenly senses something amiss. Someone is trailing them. His sharp instincts kick in and he calls out to the follower. A figure steps out from the shadows. It's the girl who placed a $1 million bid on the lightsaber. Faye immediately assumes she's come to rob them, but she swiftly clarifies her intentions. She merely wants to know how they acquired the weapon, since she was the one who initially dropped it during a battle with a formidable boss. The girl is Luna, who previously fought Lu in his monster form. Faye, thinking quickly, claims that it was his brother who secured the weapon by defeating the temporary boss. This revelation instantly excites Luna and she eagerly asks for a sparring match. However, Lu dismisses the suggestion and turns away uninterested. But Luna is resolute. She wants to test his strength firsthand. As they approach Bushkole Village, Faye inquisitively presses Lu for details about their impending quest. Lu explains that it isn't particularly challenging. The village is encircled by monsters from all directions, drawn by a young girl who carries holy light within her. Their task is straightforward: eliminate the surrounding monsters, and safely escort the girl to the Temple of Holy Light. Soon after, they arrive at the village. Without wasting a moment, Faye charges forward, eager to clear a path ahead. However, Faye mistakes two Beast Girl villagers for monsters and charges toward them, only to halt mid-strike when he realizes his error. The Beast Girls light up with excitement at the sight of an adventurer. Wasting no time, they eagerly take him by the arm and lead him through the town. As they walk, the entire village buzzes with excitement. People gather to catch a glimpse of the newcomers, their eyes filled with admiration and curiosity. Even the village chief makes a dramatic Superman entrance, greeted by applause and cheers. Faye, however, is a bit puzzled as this does not match the grim monster-infested village Lou described earlier. Lou, observing the spectacle unfold, theorizes that while the village's appearance and atmosphere may have changed, the core story and its characters are likely still the same. The chief enthusiastically invites them to partake in a grand banquet, an announcement that sends the villagers into a frenzy of joy. It's evident that this village has a deep affection for celebrations. As they are escorted toward the feast, Lou seizes the chance to inquire about the purple medic flower, a rare bloom that flourishes in their village. At the mention of the flower, an elderly villager stiffens, and instead of responding, he insists they enjoy the banquet first, making Lou instantly wary. When the banquet commences, the beastmen waste no time diving in. They eat like wild boars. I mean, they are swine, so it feels only logical. Faye, spotting the food, becomes thrilled, but Lou brushes him off, reminding him that they must locate the mission NPC first. As they scan their surroundings, they ultimately notice a small beast girl clutching an apple. Lou puts a hand on her shoulder and inquires if she wishes to accompany them to the Temple of Holy Light. The girl, with tears of hope, turns toward them and asks if they have come to rescue her. This successfully activates Mission 2 in the game, and suddenly all the pigs begin snorting as if the evil within them is stirring. The pigs start morphing into monstrous shapes and instantly charge at them. Lou and Faye, unaffected, defeat both of the attacking beast pigs with a single strike. Observing this, the remaining pigs go wild and leap toward the duo, initiating a full-scale brawl. After a while, Lou and Faye succeed in overcoming all the pigs. However, to their astonishment, the pigs start regenerating and revive themselves. Faye, feeling a bit anxious, asks Lou what they should do next. But Lou is equally puzzled since this is entirely different from the original storyline of the game. As the creatures charge once more, the duo retaliates, knowing they will eventually be worn out if they carry on like this. Recognizing their situation, they decide to sprint and make a dash for it. While fleeing, they eventually conceal themselves inside a house, evading the monsters for the moment. However, just as Faye is about to speak, Luna suddenly appears from nowhere and covers his mouth. She hushes him, whispering that the monsters are still close by and that they should discuss things upstairs. Once upstairs, Luna reveals that she arrived before them to complete the same mission. However, she also sensed something unusual about the village and opted to investigate at night. Lou agrees with her and turns to the Beast Girl, asking if she knows anything, but the girl is terrified. As Luna attempts to soothe her, she suddenly removes her mask, shocking everyone as she reveals that she is actually a human girl. According to her, Bushcole Village was originally a tranquil and serene location, although pig monsters often roamed outside its borders. Nevertheless, these creatures weren't particularly dangerous as long as individuals maintained a safe distance from them. Over time, they even began to mimic human behaviors, which further diminished the threat they presented. One day, a holy knight named Greg from the Temple of Light visited the village. Under his direction, the villagers performed a sacred prayer, although something about it felt off. During the ceremony, the girl experienced discomfort and approached Greg about it. To her surprise, he told her that she was the chosen one and that she could join the temple and become one of them. However, before she could share this revelation with everyone, the monster pigs suddenly attacked, capturing the entire village, including Greg, who was brutally killed while trying to protect them. The girl, however, somehow managed to escape and hide. Gathering her courage, she held on to the belief that she was the chosen one. She fashioned a pig mask and pretended to be one of them, waiting for the perfect moment to flee. Now she wishes to visit the holy temple to inform them about the incident. However, Faye assures her that she can leave everything to him and his brother. They will take care of it. Just as the girl gratefully thanks him, a gigantic monstrous pig spots her through the window. With its enormous hands, it seizes her and drags her out. As the creature is about to devour the girl, the trio charges at it, unleashing their spells. However, with a mere swing of its arm, the creature effortlessly halts their assault, ridiculing them for being so feeble. The trio is hurled onto the roof of a nearby building. As they regain their balance, they wonder if the beast has any vulnerabilities. Before they can devise a strategy, the beast strikes again, demolishing the entire house and sending them flying along with the debris. Thinking quickly, Lou comes up with a plan and asks Faye to support him. Hearing this, Faye immediately charges at the beast with his fiery comet spell, launching fireball after fireball to distract it. Seizing the chance, Lou rushes toward the beast. The creature spots Lou and attempts to strike him, but Lou nimbly dodges the blow using backstab along with his hunting death blades. He retaliates with a lethal blow, severing the beast's hand. As the detached hand pieces fall, Lu notices the girl trapped inside. However, just as he reaches for her, a few small pig monsters abruptly appear behind him and lunge at him. Just in time, Luna shows up behind Lu and dispatches them all with her Starlit Waltz spell. She urges Lu to rescue the girl, but before they can act, the beast violently shakes its severed hand, causing both the girl and the hand to fall. Simultaneously, the monster emits a thunderous roar, summoning countless beasts from within itself. Lu quickly understands that the beast pig is indeed a combination of the smaller ones. However, Luna, realizing the high difficulty of the task, suspects that defeating the beast may not be their primary goal. While still in the air, they come to the realization that their real mission is to deliver the girl to her destination. With that thought in mind, they call out to Faye, asking him to provide cover. Meanwhile, Faye, who is still regaining his mana, promptly leaps into action. With a flurry of explosions, he blasts away all the pigs trying to pursue Lu and Luna. On the other side, the duo is chasing after a pig that has snatched the little girl and is making a getaway. The pig is remarkably swift, quickly widening the gap between them. As they pursue, they unexpectedly encounter a group of zombie-like villagers trapped behind bars. Without hesitation, Lu liberates them, but instead of expressing gratitude, they merely snort in bewilderment. Seeing this, Luna becomes furious, blaming Genesis for whatever has befallen them. However, Lu is puzzled by what she means by that. Before he can inquire, their discussion is abruptly cut off by Faye's frantic cries for help. He is desperately running toward them, chased by a massive swarm of pigs intent on taking his life. Meanwhile, the pig holding the girl is still dashing at full speed trying to escape. After gaining some distance, the pig manages to scale a tower and begins menacing the girl. However, with the holy light within her, she quickly conjures a knife and stabs the pig in the eye. The pig emits a piercing scream and lunges at her in fury, but just in time, Lu arrives and cleaves its arm with a single blow. Despite the intense agony, the pig is utterly bewildered. How is it possible that Lu is already there? 15 minutes prior, as the trio was fleeing from the swarm of pigs, Lu provided Faye and Luna with a special pill that made them invisible, momentarily baffling their pursuers. It was a concealment pill, which causes monsters to lose track of their target for 5 seconds. While hiding, Faye couldn't help but express his frustrations about how challenging the mission was. However, according to Lu, their main focus was finding the girl. He realized they would need to think creatively to locate her, so he quickly formed a plan and asked the others for their collaboration. As the pigs kept searching the town, Lu stealthily emerged behind one of them, having transformed into a pig himself. Acting amicably, he casually inquired about the little girl's location. Unaware of Lu's disguise, the pig divulged that the one who took her, Wang, was the fastest runner in their village and knew all the houses like the back of his hoof. Lu chuckles and instructs the pig to gather at the village entrance after capturing the humans. However, the pig corrects him, stating that they are actually meant to meet at the clock tower. Quickly realizing his error, Lu brushes it off, claiming he must have had too much to drink. Suddenly, a huge explosion erupts nearby. Faye is sprinting with what appears to be the little girl in his arms while an enraged horde of pigs chases after him. This was all part of their strategy, a diversion to ensure Lu could reach the clock tower without obstruction. Back at the tower, Lu wastes no time. He swiftly cuts through the pig guarding the girl, rescuing her. Reuniting with his team, they all begin their escape, but the pig horde and the massive beast are still closely pursuing them. To secure an edge, the group swiftly consumes agility potions that enhance their speed by 30%. This enables them to dodge the beast's strikes and flee from Bush Coal Village unharmed. Nonetheless, as they distance themselves from the village, they glance back only to be astonished by what they discover. The gigantic creature pounds the ground, and in a heartbeat, every pig, including itself, vanishes into thin air. The pigs abruptly reappear beside them, causing the group to flee in terror, reminiscent of a scene from a Mario game. As they dash in a peculiar two-dimensional perspective, they spot an ostrich and quickly jump onto it, gaining some vital separation from their chasers. After escaping a sufficient distance, they let go of the ostrich and carry on by foot. Walking for a bit, they stumble upon a stunning lake and decide to rest. Since the pigs are still 30 minutes away, they believe a 15-minute pause will allow them to recuperate. Elated, Faye and the little girl joyfully splash in the water while Luna remains behind, busy monitoring her stats. However, upon noticing Luna's anxious expression, the little girl gently takes her hand and offers to lift her spirits through prayer. As the girl prays, Luna suddenly sees a brilliant light and a memory flashes before her, recalling her parents calling for her to hurry as they get ready to depart for an unknown location. The vision stirs profound emotions, and before she realizes it, a tear trickles down her face. The little girl, seeing this, grows anxious and apologizes, explaining that she hoped for a joyful memory. Luna, smiling tenderly, reassures her that it was indeed a happy memory. Faye, observing this, becomes curious and requests to try as well. As he shuts his eyes, a memory unfolds. He sees himself having lunch with his siblings while Lu and Han bicker over something trivial, just as they always do. The familiar warmth of the moment brings Feyre to tears, but when the little girl notices and inquires about it, he quickly panics and dives into the lake. Then the little girl approaches Lou, who is perched on a tree, admiring his courageous spirit. She believes he always has something on his mind and expresses her desire to assist him. However, Lou brushes off her offer, insisting that he has nothing to remember. He believes that continually looking back would only hinder his progress. The girl then reveals that since losing her parents, the villagers have looked after her. She feels grateful to be alongside someone as brave as Lou. As she prays for the kind-hearted people who raised her, tears well up in her eyes while reflecting on the villagers' fate. Lou attempts to comfort her, assuring her that she has already done more than enough. Encouraged by his words, she wonders if she will ever be as strong as him. As Lou recalls the time Han stood up for him against bullies, he becomes certain that she will. With their brief rest nearing its end, they prepare to resume their journey. However, as the little girl takes Lou's hand, the random achievement manual unexpectedly activates, announcing a surge in the mission's difficulty. Now Lou is charged with defeating the king with the assistance of the Crunch after successfully delivering the NPC girl to them. Meanwhile, the beast in the village continues to roar, more formidable than ever. Despite gaining ground, the pigs persist in pursuing them. Even though they relentlessly slash down the pigs, the creatures recover at a staggering rate. As they escape from the horde, only 50 kilometers remain until they reach the sacred temple. Feeling drained, Faye pulls out a potion and drinks it, but he fails to notice a pig catching up to him. As the pig wings its attack toward Faye, Lou leaps forward, cleaving its head down, but also taking the hit meant for Faye. Seizing the opportunity, Faye retaliates with a fire blast, sending the pig flying. The group continues to run, but their worry for Lou's injury intensifies. However, Lou insists that halting to recover would only lead to their encirclement. With no time to spare, they press on and manage to create some distance. As they approach the final 20 kilometers, they come across a towering wall with a narrow, eerie crack. Realizing that this is their sole escape route, the group heads towards it. However, as Lou observes the advancing horde, he notices something unusual. The number of pigs appears to have diminished. Entering the crack, Luna also notices the same thing. Lou theorizes that there may be an ambush ahead and urges them to hurry. After sprinting for a bit, they finally spot the exit, but before they can reach it, the path suddenly darkens. Looking up, they see the fearsome beast pig blocking their route. Trapped on both sides, the trio quickly readies their spells, shielding the young girl. As the pigs charge, they unleash relentless strikes. However, the girl, refusing to back down this time, stands her ground, confident that the Holy Light will safeguard them. At the Temple of the Holy Light, the knights gather before the bishop, insisting that they must promptly locate the host of the Holy Light to conquer the darkness. One knight informs the bishop that the pigs have assembled near the eastern valley, which infuriates him. Without hesitation, he commands his knights to follow him. As they step outside, the bishop notices a girl adorned with a pig mask. Mistaking her for a creature of darkness, he instantly prepares an attack to eliminate the beast. However, to his surprise, the girl removes her mask and begs for assistance. She explains that she hails from Coal Village, which was besieged by pigs that slaughtered everyone. She implores the bishop to rescue the 3 adventurers who risk their lives to save her but are now in dire peril. The bishop's expression shifts the moment he realizes that the girl is the host of the Holy Light. Overcome with joy, he lifts her with excitement, believing they have finally found the chosen one. With great eagerness, he inquires if she is prepared to become part of the Holy Light and assist them in vanquishing the darkness. However, the girl is left perplexed by his words, uncertain of what he truly means. Back in the back in the mountain opening, the trio fights tirelessly, battling wave after wave of pigs. Exhausted yet resolute, they push onward until a sudden realization strikes them. The girl is absent. Calling out for her, they receive no reply. Panic ensues as Luna suggests that she may have gone to the Holy Church on her own. Before they can respond, the entire pig horde suddenly screeches in unison, shouting snacks, and begins to run in the opposite direction. The unexpected change in behavior confuse Lou. Even the enormous beast pig, their relentless chaser, turns and flees. Sensing something is terribly amiss, the trio follows the horde racing toward the Temple of the Holy Light. But just as they reach its entrance, the ground trembles beneath them. Their eyes widen in terror as they absorb the scene before them. The church bishop stands within the temple grasping the half-eaten body of the little girl, blood dripping from his mouth. What the hell just transpired? Just moments earlier, the bishop had questioned the little girl about joining the Holy Light. Confused by his words, she hesitated, but he insisted that the Holy Light required her. Wanting to aid others, she consented. Without hesitation, the bishop opened his mouth and bit her in half, reveling in the divine radiance that enveloped him as he did. Before the shock can settle, the beast pig arrives, swinging with tremendous force. The impact sends the knights flying, but the bishop, now empowered by his newfound strength, stands resolute. With accurate counterattacks, he unleashes a barrage of holy light beams, piercing through the creature's flesh and riddling its immense body with Holes. As the beast collapses, the bishop steps onto its fallen form, declaring that it is the light that has burned away its filthy existence. Lost in his sermon, he fails to notice the surge of power closing in from behind until it is too late. He turns just in time to block the incoming strike, his eyes locking onto Lu. In a swift motion, Lu uses his momentum to slash the bishop's back. Staggering from the blow, the bishop quickly tries to reassure him, introducing himself as Hannibal, an ally to heroes like him. Hannibal urges Lu to assist him in eliminating the pig together as he has finally outstripped its regenerative abilities. However, Lu disregards everything and demands explanations. Just as Hannibal is about to reply, Lu suddenly lunges at him with a swift slash, sending him reeling. Lu shows no desire for negotiation. His sole aim is to see Hannibal dead. To Lu's astonishment, the system issues a warning, instructing him not to eliminate the bishop, as he is the only one capable of defeating the Pig King and fulfilling the mission. Meanwhile, the bishop, now engulfed in fury, retaliates by striking Lu with his holy light sword, hurling him into the distance. Before the bishop can continue his assault, Fei intervenes, unleashing a fiery explosion that envelops him. The strike inflicts significant damage, but Bishop, despite his wounds, refuses to win. He charges toward them with unyielding resolve. At that moment, Lu and Luna merge their energy beams, striking the bishop with tremendous force and leaving him motionless on the ground. As the bishop collapses, Lu diverts his gaze to the beast pig and notices tears forming in its eyes. The creature murmurs a single word, snack. The pig unveils a memory from its past. As a piglet, it had once been rescued by that little girl who introduced herself as Snack. She had bandaged its wounds and expressed her hope that one day it could become more like a human. Before departing, she had wrapped it up and promised to return the following day. The pig develops a fondness for the girl, but she never comes back. However, he recalls her words about becoming more like a human. Resolute to fulfill her wish, he begins observing the villagers, learning to imitate their actions in the hope of seeing her again. Upon hearing the tale, Fei and Luna inquire of the beast why he attacked Snack's village. In reply, the pig releases an enraged cry, asserting that he acted to protect her. He reveals that he overheard a dialogue between the Holy Knight and his men discussing consuming Snack because she was the vessel of light. Fearing for her safety, he took action. Lu then asks about the zombie villagers, prompting the beast to explain that they had been making too much commotion. To silence them, he locked them inside the pigsty and commanded his lesser pigs to treat them as they would ordinarily treat pigs. Concerned, Lu questions if the pig beast can recover now, but the creature insists that his healing will commence once the bishop is slain. However, confusion arises as the pig's body continues to burn. Suddenly, the source of the flames reveals itself. The bishop is still alive, positioned behind them and channeling the domain of the holy light. A barrier starts to form around the bishop as he channels his domain. Observing this, Lu immediately charges at him, but before his strike can connect, the barrier completes itself, drawing him into the domain. The system quickly informs that this is the domain of the Holy Light, a realm that provides significant advantages to its creator, granting special abilities and enhancements. As Lu is drawn inside, he finds himself in an enormous throne room. At its center, the bishop sits upon a magnificent throne, welcoming him into his domain. The sight enrages Lu, and he immediately lunges forward. However, before he can close the distance, the bishop summons a light strike from countless floating orbs above them. Despite his agility, Lu quickly realizes that the orbs are under the bishop's command, meaning the entire domain, a galaxy, exists under his control. Bishop confirms this, and just before finishing, Lu demands to know why he attacked him. Fueled by fury, Lu exclaims that Snack had approached the bishop for assistance, yet he betrayed her trust. With that, he launches another strike, but the bishop effortlessly blocks it. However, hearing Lu's words, Bishop suddenly halts, realizing they have both misunderstood one another. He then asserts to have discovered the limitations of their world. According to the bishops, their world functions on a system of levels. After becoming a bishop, his responsibility was to assign tasks to heroes in exchange for protection and respect. As time passes, he becomes intrigued by the outside realm, particularly after witnessing a hero return more powerful and revered. Choosing to explore himself, he uncovers a vast, thrilling world teeming with dark creatures. Despite the constant skirmishes, he finds it difficult to advance until he observes weak rodents surviving by consuming one another. Coming to the realization that power is derived from devouring others, he adopts this ruthless strategy to develop and gain strength. Lu quickly grasps that Bishop has concluded that slaughtering and consuming others is essential for acquiring power. Regarding the girl, Bishop discloses that she was selected by the light, rendering her the ultimate sacrifice. Consuming her would have bestowed upon him an extraordinary boost in power. This disclosure infuriates Lu even more, yet Bishop remains apathetic, rationalizing his behavior by asserting that he has preserved numerous lives through this approach. Without any hesitation, he unleashes the Holy Light false spell, intending to eliminate Lu once and for all. Nevertheless, Lu responds with a formidable burst blade strike, slicing through the flowing starlight, fracturing them mid-air. Growing annoyed, Bishop conjures his Holy Light spear and launches it at Lu, catching him unprepared. The spear pierces him, multiplying as it hits, forcing Lu to drop to his knees. As Lu kneels before him, Bishop continues to ramble about attaining greatness by using individuals like him as mere pawns. Coughing, Lu feebly refers to him as a mad pig, a comment that instantly provokes Bishop's wrath. In a surge of anger, Bishop opens his mouth wide and charges directly at him. However, rather than fear, a cunning grin appears on Lu's face. In a heartbeat, he morphs into his skeletal form, triggering a boss alert. During the charge, Lu seizes Bishop's holy light-imbued hand and with a single catastrophic swing, tears it clean off. This act causes the random achievement manual to glitch, updating the mission goal to eliminate Bishop. Furious, Bishop retaliates, but Lu quickly dodges and ascends into the air. Summoning his most potent weapon, Lu creates the Hunting Death Blade, launching an unyielding flurry that strikes all 999 light orbs, enhancing his attack combo. All of a sudden, the attack redirects toward Bishop, slicing through him with merciless accuracy. A thunderous explosion of light erupts, illuminating the battlefield. Outside the barrier, Faye becomes thrilled upon seeing Lu emerge entirely unscathed. Luna, however, is astounded that he single-handedly vanquished a boss within its own domain. Meanwhile, the Pig King's body has completely healed. He cradles Snack's lifeless body in his arms, tears streaming down his cheeks. Without a spoken word, he carries her back to the village. Observing their departure, Lu turns to Faye and inquires if he has fulfilled his mission, leaving Faye puzzled. Suddenly, a system notification appears. Mission failed X3. Before they can respond, the system begins resetting the random missions and reloading the character data. As the reload concludes, Snack awakens in her bed. Disoriented, she quickly realizes that she is unharmed and overwhelmed with relief, thanking the holy light for reviving her. Determined, she leaps out of bed and storms out of her house, needing to return to the piglets she left in the woods. As she strides through the town, the villagers greet her warmly, wishing her a pleasant morning. Grandpa, however, halts her with a serious warning that there are human-eating monsters in the forest, so she must be cautious. Hearing the warning, Snack becomes lost in thought and unknowingly collides with the village chief. Concerned, the chief asks if she is alright before introducing her to a holy knight, requesting that he examine her. As the holy knight reaches out his hand toward her, Snack's body tenses. Without a moment's hesitation, she suddenly pivots and flees, shouting that she does not wish to be the vessel for the holy light. As she rushes away, she notices Lu passing by her. There's something unnervingly familiar about him. She swears he uttered something, but before she can comprehend it, he vanishes into the crowd. Back in the town, the village chief apologizes to the holy knight, who is lost in contemplation, realizing that the girl is pure and will make an excellent vessel for the bishop. The knight requests the chief to bring the girl to him later. At the same time, Lu, cloaked and concealed, strolls alongside the knight. In a quick, stealthy move, Lu slits the knight's throat so silently that even the chief remains oblivious to what transpired. Later in the woods, the piglet waits for Snack. This time she shows up, and just like that, they are reunited once more. A short distance away, the trio perches on a cliff, observing the emotional scene. As they get ready to depart for their next task, Lu says goodbye to Luna, and they both walk off while Faye attempts to persuade Lu to include her in their group. As she observes them leave, Luna contemplates how the missions have become increasingly bizarre and erratic. NPCs and monsters are straying from the storyline, and she suspects it may all be related to Genesis. She believes that if they collaborate, they can uncover the truth. Upon hearing this, Lu consents and the three of them formally introduce themselves again, this time as a squad. An unexpected update notification appears alerting all players about the server maintenance. With a blend of goodbyes and lingering feelings, the group separates. As Luna logs out, the virtual world dissolves, and she returns to reality where her cat eagerly awaits her. She gently strokes the cat, reminiscing about the friends she made in the game, but soon starts coughing due to her illness. The maid arrives to inform Luna that her father has summoned her. Helping her into the wheelchair, the maid escorts her to his office before waiting outside. Luna hesitates before knocking on the door. As it opens, she propels her wheelchair into the expansive office, where the walls are composed of glass aquariums. The room remains quiet until her father acknowledges her presence. He asks about her preliminary exam and cautions her not to disgrace him in the final selection. After delivering his message, he dismisses her. Meanwhile, within the aquarium, a shark hunts a smaller fish, the silent chase unfolding in the background. Elsewhere in the city, Lu and Faye head to a hot pot restaurant. Upon arrival, they are presented with a bubbling, sizzling hot pot. Faye, overwhelmed with excitement, dives headfirst into the meal while Lu meticulously follows every dining etiquette he knows. As they eat, Lu overhears the patrons at the table next to him discussing Moon Fantasy. They praise the game for its extreme levels, monsters, and intricate mechanics. However, their curiosity intensifies as they debate whether the missions are completely randomly generated or customized for individual players. Hearing this, Lu starts to ponder the nature of the game's missions. Initially, his task was to eliminate the Orc King, but the mission unexpectedly shifted when the Orc turned out to be a noble figure, while the Bishop was revealed as the real villain. Later, Lu himself was transformed into a boss. The inconsistency troubles, especially as he notices that the cheat book he generated from a random mission has begun to stray from its intended functions. He questions whether this anomaly stems from his extensive rewriting of the source code, or if it's somehow linked to Genesis, the enigmatic entity Luna had mentioned. Perhaps it is all due to Purgatory, the phenomenon Wu mentioned, pulling Lu back into endless whirlpools and reefs. He feels as if he has lost all command over his own game, drifting farther from his original objective. As he remains deep in thought, the server arrives with the 5 bowls of egg-fried rice that Faye ordered. When Faye offers him some, Lu's thoughts drift back to a winter from their childhood. He remembers Faye crying after someone overturned their beds and urinated on them. Their older brother had been there too, furious, convinced that the earlier bully was responsible. Han had intended to ask the director for more bedsheets, but Lu informed him that he had already inquired, and was told they could not receive more than one. That night, with the temperatures dropping to 18 degrees, they all huddled together under a single bedsheet trying to stay warm. As the youngest, Faye had grown weary of their harsh life and questioned whether it would always be this tough. In response, Lu and Han offered quiet reassurances, trying to keep his hope alive. However, Faye simply stated that all he wanted was to eat 3 bowls of egg-fried rice. Back in the present, Faye is finally realizing that Dream, happily munching on his meal while Lu sits across from him, pleased for his little brother. A brief time later, within the game, a notification appears announcing a large-scale event, Heart of Ironwall Kingdom Warriors, about to begin in Ironwall Kingdom. The registration period is quickly closing, with only 1 minute left, however. A heavily armored guard stands at the entrance, blocking furious players from entering, stating that the registrations are full and insisting they leave. Despite the turmoil, Lu subtly hands a pouch of gold to the guard. Without hesitation, the guard makes an exception, permitting Lu and his group to enter, further igniting the anger of the other players. With merely 9 seconds remaining before registration ends, Lu and his group successfully gain entry to the kingdom. However, they have only reached its borders. They still to navigate to the central castle. Just as the countdown hits 0, a colossal wall unexpectedly drops from the sky, encircling the castle entirely. The unforeseen barrier confines Lu and his team within, leaving them unsettled and unsure about what has just occurred. As they try to understand the situation, a glitched digital screen flashes into view. From it, Walter, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ironwall Kingdom, addresses them, identifying himself as the host of the event. According to Walter, the event was launched to celebrate the birth of the Ironwall Kingdom's princess. Over time, the princess became renowned for a beauty so dazzling that it could melt snow and ice. However, she has since been captured by a formidable dragon, and the quest is to rescue her. A total of 10,000 players are taking part in the event, each receiving 1 adventurer's badge. As Luna suspects, this is not merely a simple quest. It is a competition. Over the span of 7 days, players must gather as many badges as they can, and only the top 100 will progress to the next phase. There are 3 methods to acquire additional badges. The first and easiest approach is to search for them scattered around the area. The second is to defeat monsters, which may drop them upon being killed. The third and most merciless method is to steal badges from other players. Each player's badge count is visible above their head, making every encounter high stakes and intense. With the rules set, Walter officially declares the start of the event, initiating the 7-day countdown. Lu's group, with only a single badge each, wastes no time and moves ahead. However, they are quickly approached by another team suggesting an alliance. The group's leader reveals his plan to assemble 100 players into a single unit, ensuring their supremacy and securing their place in the next round of the competition. However, Lu swiftly dismisses the offer and continues walking, unfazed by the proposal. This outright rejection infuriates the opposing leader, who silently vows to eliminate Lu's group should they meet again. As they continue onward, Faye questions Lu about his decision to reject the alliance. Lu explains that gathering a group of inexperienced players would be pointless. He has a tactical reason for his choice. After defeating the bishop, he acquired a rare item, the Godslayer's Guild Badge. This badge grants a unique effect. Anyone who teams up with Lu will be acknowledged as part of the Godslayer's Guild, and as the guild membership grows, all members receive attribute bonuses. Because of this, Lu plans to select his allies meticulously, ensuring they are deserving of the power the badge offers. Upon traversing the forest, Lu's group immediately begins hunting monsters, swiftly gathering badges scattered throughout the area. As their badge count increases, they remain vigilant for additional monsters. Soon, Faye spots one lurking ahead and, with rising confidence, steps forward insisting that he take on the fight alone. As Faye prepares to release his fiery explosion, another player strikes at the same moment. Their combined attacks overwhelm the monster, causing it to fall and release badges for both of them. Irritated, Faye accuses the girl of stealing his kill. Equally angry, the girl refuses to back down and immediately lunges at Faye, aiming to seize his badges by force. Faye, reluctant to engage a girl, retreats while calling out for his brother's assistance. In a flash, Lu appears pressing a blade to the girl's throat. However, she quickly calls for backup. Her sister arrives in an instant, and she seizes both Faye and Luna mid-charge, effortlessly restraining them. Now they confront each other, Lu holding the girl at knife point while her sister maintains a firm grip on Faye and Luna. The woman, let's refer to her as Mommy, possesses 50 badges, and Luna can distinctly sense her power as she tightens her hold. However, Luna is more worried about Faye, who is struggling as Mommy constricts him. It should have been me. Resolute to rescue him, Luna activates her Radiant Star ability, temporarily disorienting Mommy. The strategy works, causing her to loosen her grasp. Seizing the moment, Luna launches an assault, but Mommy reacts just in time to block it. Despite the clash, she is impressed by Luna's abilities, while Luna in turn acknowledges her opponent's power. Realizing she needs to force Mommy into an error, Luna casts Crescent Moon, sending a low slashing wave toward her. Mommy swiftly dodges by leaping, but this creates the chance Luna was anticipating. She rushes forward, targeting a decisive strike. However, Mommy responds just as rapidly, effortlessly blocking Luna's attack, making it evident that a direct confrontation won't be sufficient to save Faye. Meanwhile, the girl Lu is holding begins taunting them, asserting that even with all three of them together, they still stand no chance against her sister. As Luna prepares to strike again, Mommy suddenly stops her, shifting her focus to Lu. She points at him, stating that she wishes to battle him instead. Without uttering a word, Lu accepts the challenge. In response, Mommy secures Faye to the side, ensuring he cannot intervene, and gets ready for combat. As they approach each other, they suddenly collide, exchanging powerful blows. Their attacks intersect with precision, blocking and countering each strike, generating a tremendous surge of energy. Everyone observing quickly realizes that both Lu and Mommy are exceptionally skilled fighters, standing at the level of elite experts. Lu's movements remain calm and collected, each step calculated and effective. In contrast, Mommy relies on brute strength, delivering clean, sharp punches with expert precision. The entire forest illuminates from the shockwaves of their battle, each impact shaking the environment. As the fight escalates, Mommy grows increasingly impressed by Lu's strength. Amidst the conflict, she unexpectedly proposes to be his girlfriend, leaving Lu momentarily perplexed. Her sister, equally confused, questions her reasoning. Mommy then reveals that her intuition has never steered her wrong, and in her judgment, Lu is worth at least 80 points, someone she simply cannot afford to let slip away. Mommy dived into esports for 10 years, and although she dominated everyone around, nobody dared to challenge her in the back room, and unfortunately, her love life remained as barren as a desert server. With her extensive experience in dating sims, Mommy is convinced that Lu is the perfect match for her. Declaring this, she slams the ground, unleashing a seismic wave attack, while playfully asking if Lu would like to start with a romance straight out of a dating sim. Lu, however, declines without hesitation, quickly halting her attack. To her astonishment, before she can respond, he has already reached the cage where Faye is confined and effortlessly cuts it open. As Faye steps out, he teasingly suggests that Lu should consider Mommy's proposal, pointing out that he has never had a girlfriend before. Hearing this, Mommy falls even deeper in love with him, her admiration escalating by the second. However, her romantic thoughts are abruptly interrupted as an arrow strikes her arm. She barely has time to register the pain before realizing they are now completely surrounded. Hundreds of players, each adorned with a high number of badges, close in on them. The group leader commands his members to deal with the others, while claiming Mommy for himself as she holds the highest number of badges. Lu's group and the Mommy duo feel a bit anxious but quickly become alert, preparing to engage in battle. Just as the group leader instructs his team to attack, an unforeseen event shocks everyone. A powerful red beam strikes the earth, forming a barrier around them. Once again, the screen appears and Walter's assistant briefs all participants about a significant rule update. The Iron Wall Kingdom will now randomly feature a Grab Blue, Avoid Red event. Areas marked in blue will hold blessings, items, and enhancements, while regions marked in red will be filled with traps, penalties, and chaotic space-time distortions. After delivering this announcement, the assistant bids farewell and vanishes. Panic spreads within the adventurer group as they realize they are currently positioned in a red zone. Suddenly, a notification screen appears confirming their deepest fears. It is a chaotic space-time zone. According to the update, any adventurer who enters the area will be randomly teleported to a different spot within the kingdom. As everyone starts teleporting, Lu directs his group to keep gathering badges and move toward the central area to regroup if they find themselves close by. Now only 8,000 players remain, but the truly frightening part is that the group leader isn't teleported away. Instead, he is left alone with Mommy, compelled to face her fury. As she relentlessly takes down other players, the group leader begs for mercy, even offering to bribe her. However, Mommy remains unfazed, channeling all her energy into her iron fists before slamming him into a tree and seizing his badges as well. Just then, she suddenly recalls that she never exchanged names with Lu, and her mind wanders into a daydream, even imagining the names of their future children. Meanwhile, at another location, Faye and Mommy's younger sister, Chili, introduced themselves on seemingly friendly terms. However, without warning, Chili unleashes a blast at Faye, forcing him to dodge at the last moment. Still harboring a grudge over the badge's theft, Chili insists on battling him. Faye, realizing the misunderstanding, attempts to reason with her, but she remains unmoved. As she charges at him, conjuring her fireballs, Faye quickly offers her a deal, an exchange of information regarding their siblings, considering that both Lou and Mommy appear to have feelings for each other. Stopping her mid-charge, Faye's words catch Chili off guard. This marks the beginning of their friendship as they sit by their own fire, laughing about various things and agreeing to assist each other in finding their siblings. Meanwhile, at another location, Luna finds herself alone, becoming increasingly anxious. With both communication and the map disabled, she has no way of locating her group. She remembers her father's warnings about advancing to the final stage of the event. Though he has always been distant towards her, Luna chooses to see the positive side, believing that in his own manner he cares for her and wishes for her success. Despite having endured painful experiments in the past, she remains determined to do her best and take care of herself. As she reflects on her history, a massive monster with a badge number of 9999 quietly emerges from the shadows preparing to strike. Elsewhere, Lou is engaged in an intense battle against another player, one who seems to match him in strength. 2 hours earlier, when Lou was teleported to a random location, he quickly assessed his surroundings, studying the position of the beam and the nearby sounds. Realizing that he was alone, he concluded that his group would be safe and chose to focus on collecting badges. Utilizing his stealth skill enhanced by his white stealth cap, he began his hunt. Not far from his location, a group of players was busy defeating monsters. In a flash, Lou eliminated both the monsters and the players with a swift, silent slice, collecting their badges in an instant. My guy just mega KS. He knew that while these initial targets wouldn't greatly impact his overall badge count, the more badges he gathered, the tougher the monsters would become. For now, his strategy was clear: hunt players in the weaker areas. Elsewhere, Xiao, the wealthy brat, was effortlessly taking down monsters with his legendary gear while his devoted admirer watched him in awe, completely entranced by his every move. As they are occupied talking, suddenly Lou sneaks up from behind, and just as he is about to attack Xiao, Xiao pushes his shield, his girlfriend, in front of him, resulting in Lou killing her. Xiao is furious that someone has assaulted him and prepares to fight. As Lou charges, Xiao swings his legendary sword, unleashing a powerful wave, but in the blink of an eye, Lou vanishes from sight. Looking around, Xiao realizes that Lou is above him, but it is too late. Lou slashes across his body in a quick motion, killing him instantly. Nearby, another adventurer witnesses Lou's movement and is profoundly impressed. However, Lou does not even notice him at first. When he finally glances at the adventurer's badges, he is shocked to see that the man still has a ranking of 0. The player, believing that Lou has snatched his prey, challenges him instead, vowing to hunt him down. Without hesitation, they collide, generating tremendous shockwaves throughout the vicinity. The player relentlessly assaults, delivering strike after strike, yet Lou effortlessly deflects each one. The sheer expertise and accuracy of Lou's defense leaves the player in admiration. Suddenly, Lou responds with a slicing burst, propelling the player into the air. The adversary lands back on the ground and quickly retaliates with Wolf Mist, launching a massive beam straight toward Lou. However, as the dust dissipates, Lou appears unscathed. Both can sense each other's strength, but Lou is particularly puzzled. Despite the player's immense power, he still lacks a badge, meaning that even defeating him would yield nothing. The player, grinning maniacally, introduces himself as Feng, and Lou replies in kind. Without hesitation, they rush at each other once more, fully ready to take the other down. They persist in their unyielding attacks on each other, but Lou shields against every blow. Seizing an opportunity, he suddenly darts away, realizing that confronting Feng is akin to facing a wild wolf, unpredictable and merciless. He requires a moment to regain his composure. As Lou maneuvers his snake spirit beast behind Feng, his opponent successfully positions his wolf for an ambush as well. The two summoned beasts collide, triggering a massive shockwave that ripples through the forest. In the distance, a group of players notices the explosion. Their leader immediately signals for them to stop before instructing his fourth brother to check on a missing teammate who has taken too long to return. Following the command, the fourth brother disappears digitally. Back in the battle, Lou begins to perceive weaknesses in Feng's strategy, realizing that he struggles during extended fights. Meanwhile, Feng becomes more exhilarated, thrilled to be facing an opponent of such might. Once more, they charge at each other, their weapons clashing with intensity. However, as their blades connect, Lou suddenly senses that something about Feng is definitely off. Abruptly, a surge of power erupts from within Feng as he charges forward with overwhelming strength, ramming Lou through a cluster of trees and crashing him into one. What confounds Lou is that despite repeatedly striking Feng down, his adversary only becomes stronger. The reason soon becomes evident. Feng's passive ability, Bloodbath Serenade, grants him a 1% increase in attack power for every 1% of health he loses. With his strength steadily escalating, Feng lunges at Lou yet again. This time, Lu swiftly sidesteps, recognizing that Feng still has vulnerabilities in his attacks. He realizes that Feng is intentionally triggering his own passive ability to grow stronger. Lu continues to evade, leading toward a group of monkey monsters obstructing his path. Without hesitation, he unleashes his haunting death blade, slicing through them all and rapidly building up his combo. Observing this, Feng hesitates for the first time, growing cautious of the lethal power behind Lu's strike. As Lu's combo builds, Feng abruptly interrupts it, triggering a massive explosion that engulfs the area. Astonished, Lu realizes that Feng possesses the same ability as a limited-time boss he once encountered. Feng recalls his leader's warning about haunting Deathblade and the significance of disrupting its combo. Heeding that advice, he remains relentless, countering Lu's every maneuver. Despite Lu trying to unleash his ultimate move, Feng's passive skill continues to enhance his attack power with each passing moment. Determined, Lu begins channeling a tremendous surge of energy around him, the sheer force pushing Feng back. Rather than retreating, Feng only becomes more exhilarated, claiming that Lu has rekindled his excitement for battle. However, high up in a nearby tree, the archer sent by the group leader silently prepares his arrow, aiming to aid Feng in the fight. As Lu rushes at Feng, an invisible arrow strikes him mid-motion sent by the archer. The impact brings him down instantly. Despite receiving aid, Feng is still stunned by the outcome. Seizing the opportunity, he unleashes Wolf Mist Basket, sending it hurtling toward the airborne Lu before hitting him directly. The force of the attack sends Lu crashing into the water below. Both Feng and the archer stand in bewilderment, realizing that even though they appear to have defeated Lu, their badges remain the same. The archer, squinting his eyes, accuses Feng of intentionally allowing Lu to escape, asserting that he neglected to utilize Wolf Exhaust to finish him off. With an annoying smirk, the archer comments that if Feng didn't want the kill, he ought to have left it for their leader instead. Feng's face darkens with fury, but before tensions escalate, the archer brushes off the conflict and strolls away, informing Feng that their leader is waiting. As Feng observes the water's surface ripple, he silently wishes to face Lu again someday for a proper duel. Elsewhere, Fei and Chili are getting along famously, chatting about how perfect Fei's sibling Lu is. As they walk, a troll monster suddenly ambushes them. Fei instinctively moves forward, telling Chili to hide behind him, but she pushes him aside instead. Without hesitation, she unleashes Fire Dragon Tornado, engulfing the troll in flames and reducing it to ashes. After dealing with the creature, they resume their conversation about their siblings while casually encountering and vanquishing more trolls along the way. As they discuss Chili's career as an animator, they effortlessly obliterate the monsters without breaking a sweat. However, Fei unwittingly touches a nerve when he comments on how poorly animators are compensated. At that moment, Chili's expression shifts to one of anger. Without saying a word, she channels all her frustration into the unfortunate troll in her grasp, incinerating it into dust in an instant. As they move on, an awkward silence envelops them. Fei realizes he made a blunder by mentioning the issue of low pay, causing the atmosphere to grow tense. As they continue, they encounter a mermaid monster emerging from the water, boasting 300 adventurer badges. The instant the creature spots them, she emits a deafening siren scream, sending waves of pain through their bodies. Stunned by the sound, Chili collapses to the ground, unable to endure the agony, quickly followed by Fei. Seizing the moment, the mermaid monster casts Stitch, binding the two together half and half. The two, now fused into a grotesque abomination of one body, regain consciousness, utterly bewildered by what just occurred. The mermaid watches with amusement, mocking them by saying she has given them beautiful new attire. However, their horror escalates as they notice her channeling something behind her. As the water calms, a monstrous tentacle creature emerges, ready to devour them. They attempt to maintain their distance, but the moment they try to move, they stumble and fall. It's then that the terrifying realization dawns on them. They are sharing a single body. Instead of concentrating on survival, the two immediately start arguing over where to move, and more awkwardly, where not to touch. Even the mermaid rolls her eyes at their quarrel before using her magic to draw them closer. As they are pulled toward the monstrous creature, they have no choice but to set aside their differences. With no other choice, they agree to share control, each taking command of half of their shared body. Working together, they launch themselves into the air using fire magic. However, this only infuriates the mermaid, who despises fire. In retaliation, she unleashes Cannon Splash, sending a powerful torrent of water hurtling toward them. They fumble their movements and take a direct hit. Struggling to maintain balance while controlling only half of their shared body, they stagger awkwardly. Despite their lack of coordination, they manage to propel themselves off the ground, launching a barrage of fireballs from the air. The flames scorch both the mermaid and the monstrous creature, but the beast quickly extinguishes the fire with a surge of water. In response, it unleashes a swirling water attack, trapping them inside a spinning aquatic prison. Even in their dire predicament, they remain frustrated with each other, their lack of synchronization making escape nearly impossible. However, amidst their arguing, they suddenly realize something. Without hesitation, they clasp their hands together, channeling their magic into a still unified force. A massive fiery explosion erupts in the air, igniting the surrounding water in a burst of steam and heat. Breaking free from the watery trap, they finally choose to cooperate. As the mermaid, furious at the flames, prepares to unleash her stitching spell once more, they move in perfect harmony. This time, they effortlessly dodge her attacks, weaving and twirling around her blows with newfound finesse. Embracing the moment, they call out to sea to provide music for them. Moving in sync with the rhythm, they channel their combined strength into a colossal, devastating torrent of fire. With a final coordinated blow, they unleash the fiery assault toward the mermaid, engulfing her in flames and instantly turning her into ashes. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the powerful 999 badge monster grasps Luna in his hold, furious that she has slain its offspring. Back in the water, the mermaid monster drops a bounty of experience and gear, leveling up Chili in the process. Though now apart, Chili and Faye are still holding hands as they sift through the treasure, deciding what to take. Suddenly, Chili notices their hands are still linked. Embarrassed, she quickly pulls away, turning her focus elsewhere. Flustered, she redirects the discussion, wondering aloud what their siblings might be doing at this moment. Meanwhile, deep within the forest, Mommy stands at the precipice, the very spot where Lou fell into the waters moments ago. The faint scent of Lou's presence still hangs in the air, igniting a sudden surge of anger within her. In a fit of fury, she strikes the entire cliff down, realizing that someone may have caused Lou's descent. A short distance away, Feng sits atop the vanquished monster, but an unsettling sense of dread washes over him as he feels a chilling sensation creeping up his spine. However, he is suddenly startled upon hearing his leader assert that a 500 badge monster is nearby. This only fuels Feng's excitement further as his burning fighting spirit from battling Lu has yet to cool. In the water, Lu floats in his skeletal form, completely unable to move. After being pushed off the cliff, his vigilance remained fixed on the water's surface, readying to counter from below. However, out of nowhere, he was bitten by a poisonous fish. The venom began to cause him to lose consciousness, prompting him to shift into his skeletal form to avoid being devoured by predatory fish. As he drifts, a whirlpool begins to form, pulling him in. Regaining his senses, he suddenly realizes he is now within a cave. Steadying himself, Lu examines the holes in the cave walls, realizing they are artificial and likely the handiwork of a massive creature. With no one else nearby, he decides to recover, taking a healing potion before moving forward. As he journeys deeper into the cave, he discovers an area filled with monstrous green eggs. Shock washes over him when he spots Luna's sword lying near one of them. Without hesitation, he slices the egg open, revealing Luna inside and quickly pulls her out. However, just as he attempts to rouse her, the 999 badge monster lurking above suddenly lunges at them, radiating a powerful intent to kill. As the monster leaps at them, Lu swiftly blocks attack, but despite bracing himself, he can feel the tremendous force behind the strike. The creature momentarily retreats before launching a relentless series of blows with its numerous hands. Dodging the attacks, Lu calls out to Luna for her spell and questions how she even found such a formidable creature. Enraged, the monster blames them for slaying its offspring. Acknowledging the immense threat before them, Lu decides they should fight together, and Luna concurs. With that, they both charge forward, attacking the monster head-on. Luna targets its arm while Lu swiftly dodges to the side, striking from a different angle. Seizing opportunity, Luna unleashes her Starlight Slash, forcing the creature to retreat into its burrow. Watching this, Lu realizes that the holes he noticed earlier are actually tunnels dug by the beast, an escape route it had prepared ahead of time. As the monster withdraws, the ground suddenly begins to tremble. Sensing the danger, they leap away just in time as the creature's tail erupts from below, narrowly missing them. There is no clear opening in the monster's relentless assaults, prompting Luna to suggest splitting up, hoping that multiple targets will create an opportunity. As they separate, the monster focuses on Luna, giving Lu a chance to counter. Analyzing the speed and timing of its strikes, he swiftly slashes off its tail, causing the creature to stagger in pain and let out a piercing scream. Writhing in agony, the monster furiously strikes the ground, generating a massive shockwave. Despite blocking the incoming debris, the duo quickly realizes they are no match for this beast, so Lu suggests that Luna recover while he advances to keep the monster occupied. Yet, even after 2 hours of striking and defending, the creature, although damaged, still stands with its vitality unscathed. Lu comforts Luna, asserting that the monster must be on the brink of collapse. To their astonishment, the beast suddenly consumes one of its own eggs, instantly regaining full strength. With that, it releases a terrifying nightmare cage screech, paralyzing them both. This moment plunges Lu deep into his thoughts, transporting him to a conversation with himself in a cafe. He reminds his character that the answers are within his heart, to which his character insists that he does not want to surrender. The character argues that they have a lead on Infernal Purgatory from Wu, which could aid them in locating their brother. However, this only angers Lu, who thinks he is fooling himself and losing touch with reality due to the game. Mocking his character, He contends that rather than wasting time searching for his brother, he should honor his siblings' wishes by undertaking something more significant. This leaves his character deep in contemplation. Lu then rises, reassuring him that everything will be fine. Instead of aimlessly pursuing a lost cause, he proposes establishing an orphanage, a place where children without families can find a home. That, he asserts, is what he ought to be doing instead of frolicking through some game. As he speaks, his character, engulfed by fury, seizes Lu by the throat, accusing him of being a heart demon within a nightmare conjured by the creature. Realizing the illusion, Lu shatters it and returns to the present, where the monster is grasping both him and Luna, preparing to crush them with its enormous fist. In an instant, Lu regains awareness and swiftly slices through both of the monster's hands, breaking free. Without hesitation, he hands Luna an illusion-breaking potion, instantly awakening her as well. The monster, phased, questions whether it would have been preferable for them to die within its illusion. However, rather than fear, this only ignites their fury. Both Lu and Luna charge at the creature, attacking from opposite sides. Despite its attempts to defend, the monster is bewildered. Its nightmare screech should have awakened them, yet they are battling even more fiercely than before. Sensing peril, the monster tries to consume another egg to recover, but Luna intercepts it in an instant, severing its hand with her moon slashes. The monster panics and attempts to withdraw into its tunnels, but Lu is already behind it, delivering a decisive blow that completely detaches its head. The colossal creature collapses, and Lu's badge count increases by 999. High-fiving Luna, he apologizes for taking the points, but she doesn't mind. There are still 2 days remaining, giving them ample time to gather more points for her. As they get ready to depart, a monstrous voice suddenly reverberates through the cavern, halting them in their tracks. Both freeze in disbelief, recognizing that the voice is emanating from within the monster's belly. Suddenly, a smaller but similarly shaped monster bursts out of the dead creature's abdomen, demanding to know who killed it. The moment it spots Lu and Luna, it lunges at them without hesitation, kicking Luna away before unleashing a powerful green laser beam directly at Lu, striking him head-on. Believing both of them to be defeated, the monster smirks, mocking them for their weakness. As silence descends, the monster derides them for playing dead. But before it can react further, a barrage of rock suddenly hurtles toward it. With ease, the monster annihilates the incoming debris, but the assault was merely a diversion. Lu and Luna strike from both sides, aiming to catch it off guard. However, despite their coordination, the monster effortlessly blocks their attacks with his hands, calling their efforts tedious before sending them flying. Growing overly confident, the monster gives them one final chance, claiming their attacks are hardly captivating. Seizing the moment, Luna gathers all of her remaining strength and charges forward with Lu flanking from the opposite side. As she swings at the creature, it easily dodges her attacks, mocking their feeble efforts. However, just as it smirks in amusement, it notices Lu from the other side, realizing too late that Luna's assault was just a distraction. The moment the monster attempts to counter with its beam, Lu is already ready, activating his backstab skill and slashing the creature from behind. Injured, the monster snaps in anger and absorbs the life force of a nearby egg, fully recovering in an instant, shocking the duo. They quickly comprehend that as long as those eggs exist, killing the monster is impossible. Pointing at them, the creature acknowledges their teamwork, but sneers that individually they are too feeble. To illustrate his point, he casts a duplication spell, creating 2 identical copies of himself before relentlessly attacking both Lu and Luna simultaneously. Even though it is now divided into 2, the creature's overall power has decreased, yet its resistance remains formidable. As the conflict escalates, the duplicate battling Luna suddenly pulls her into a pit while the other relentlessly attacks Lu with a barrage of slashes. Nevertheless, the monster halts for a brief instant, puzzled as despite being hit repeatedly, Lu continues to laugh. Suddenly, Lu activates his burst sword and the slash begins chaining into an unending combo, slicing down the eggs one by one. Initially, the monster sneers, ridiculing Lu for casting such a spell, but as the strength of the slash amplifies with every shattered egg, a wave of dread washes over him. Realizing too late that something is horribly amiss, he frantically tries to intercept, triggering a massive explosion between them. As the debris settles, the monster is astonished. Lu actually possessed such a powerful technique concealed up his sleeve, but at the same time, our boy is equally taken aback. The monster is still alive. Without any delay, Lu rushes forward, consuming a recovery potion mid-motion, while the monster begins gathering its green orbs, preparing to counter. However, to Lu's horror, a hand suddenly surfaces from a slashed egg gripping his sword. Before he can respond, more creatures burst forth from the broken eggs surrounding him. Watching the reinforcements arrive, the monster barks in amusement. Lu swiftly engages the emerging minions, cutting them down one after another, but their overwhelming numbers make it nearly impossible to keep pace. The creature, fully aware of the flaw in Lu's skill, merely observes from a distance, perched atop his minions as they swarm the battlefield. Meanwhile, Luna remains locked in battle with one of the duplicates. The clone delivers a crushing punch to her abdomen, sending her crashing into a nearby wall. Struggling to regain her balance, she weakly apologizes for having killed the monster before it was even born. The duplicate, momentarily taken aback by her words, bursts into laughter, interpreting it as a desperate attempt at comedy. However, after regaining his composure, he reveals a fundamental rule of survival within their kind. According to him, from the moment they are born, they instinctively turn against their maternal figure, a process that makes them stronger. Without hesitation, the duplicate lunges at Luna while simultaneously casting his Nightmare Cage spell. A paralyzing dread takes hold of her, forcing a blood-curdling scream. Lu continues battling the minions, unable to assist as he hears Luna scream. The relentless horde continues advancing towards him, compelling him to cut them down in overwhelming numbers. The sheer volume of defeated minions forms a massive heap of bodies, and amid the chaos, Lu suddenly vanishes. The system announces that he has reached level 30 and has acquired the random ability Shadow Clone, permitting him to create a duplicate that will aid him in battle. As the monster, growing impatient, climbs atop the mound of corpses, it is shocked to find Lu missing. Frustration shifts to unease as it notices one of its own minions acting strangely, slashing wildly at its allies. A creeping sense of dread creeps in as the monster realizes Lu might still be alive. Before it can react, Lu strikes with the combined power of Shadow Clone, unleashing his haunting blade. The lethal technique tears through the remaining minions in a relentless assault, its force so immense that it pierces the ground and emerges from below. Amplifying the attack, Lu directs it towards the monster, shattering its form with thousands of devastating slashes. Meanwhile, in front of Luna, the duplicate enemy, now significantly weakened, begins begging for mercy, promising to obey her commands. However, without hesitation, she casts the Crescent spell, unleashing a powerful blast that obliterates him instantly. With that, the event reaches its conclusion, and all players are summoned to the central gate. As they gather, uncertainty fills the air with many questioning whether they will be moving on to the next stage. Mami, along with Chili and Faye, sits in silence, their concern growing as Lu has yet to appear. Growing impatient, Mami instructs both of them to gather intelligence on Lu's assailant. Faye, upon hearing of the attack, becomes visibly anxious, prompting Mami to express her suspicion that Lu may have been ambushed and killed while searching for her. However, Faye refuses to believe it, confident in her brother's strength. His confidence provides some comfort to Mami, but before they can continue their conversation, Lu's voice suddenly calls out from behind them. He appears carrying Luna on his back, and upon seeing him, the group finally relaxes. While most feel relieved, Mami is visibly annoyed. Stepping forward, she faces Lu and introduces herself as Hua Jiao. Without hesitation, she boldly proclaims herself as Lu's future spouse, astonishing everyone around her. As the crowd buzzes with speculation over badge numbers, the screen above them illuminates once again, showcasing Walter's announcement of the top 100 players. Lu holds the third position with 2 players ahead of him and 3 below him from the Daybreak clan, while Hua, Luna, and the others follow closely behind. Players are stunned to see the first place holder racking up 5,000 points, wondering who it could possibly be. Their focus soon shifts to the Daybreak Guild leader, realizing he is the one. The Daybreak Guild currently ranks as the 3rd highest union guild on the entire server, recognized for achieving numerous victories in other games prior to this one. However, their attention swiftly turns to Lu's name, questioning how he managed to rank higher than the Daybreak clan members. Meanwhile, Hua remains fixated on trying to persuade Lu to marry her, but he, disinterested, brushes her off while noticing Feng seated among the Daybreak clan members. Walter then showers the top 100 players with experience points, causing most of them to level up. Lu and his group also exceed level 30. After that, Walter instructs everyone to proceed through the portal to the second selection site. The players start advancing towards the portal, speculating about what the second stage will involve. Is that Goku and Toriyama up ahead? What on earth? As everyone steps in, they are teleported onto pillars, each grouped with 4 other random players. As they come to terms with the situation, the host for the stage appears, revealing the specifics of the challenge. In this stage, players must engage in a crime-solving deduction game where a concealed murderer is among the 5 players, and they must collaborate to identify them, literally among us. After each round, players will discuss the clues and their suspicions. Successfully voting out the murderer will permit the remaining players to proceed to the next stage. The host distributes story cards to each player detailing their assigned roles. Lu quickly recognizes that the game centers on discussion and reasoning. The host then discloses the background story for Lu and the other 4 players. According to the scenario, a warrior X chosen to rescue the king's daughter has been slain and everyone is a suspect. Lu is assigned the role of the guard captain, while the others receive different identities. With that, the game commences. The game starts with the suspects proceeding in a clockwise manner, while the host remains present to guide them through the process. The first task is for each player to introduce themselves and explain their connection with Warrior X. Player introduces himself as a close companion of Warrior X, assuring the group that a charming man like him would never deceive. When the host asks for his suspicions, he states that for now he does not suspect anyone, but based on appearances, he is cautious of the mage, Player E. It is now Player B's turn, the daughter of a minister. She claims that Warrior X once saved her life and as proof explains that she was bedridden for years, rendering her too helpless to kill anyone. As for her suspicion, she directs it toward Lu, arguing that people have seen him with Warrior X. Now, it is Lu's turn to respond. He claims that he has no connection with Warrior X. As proof that he is not the murderer, he explains that he had a dispute with X after discovering he was a womanizer seeking fame. As a guard, he cannot oppose the king's will, making him unlikely to be the murderer. For his suspicion, Lu points out that based on the collected information, Player B's relationship with X appears peculiar. Next, it is Player D's turn to speak. She introduces herself as a scholar who interviewed X and authored his biography. As proof of her innocence, she argues that she is the most straightforward person present, and as a scholar, she has no time for murder. Additionally, she mentions that her height is rather short, while the dagger that killed X was discovered at a higher position, making it improbable that she could have committed the crime. When asked who she suspects, she admits she is uncertain but suggests eliminating weaker players as they might become liabilities and hinder everyone. Now it is the mage's turn. He introduces himself as a high priest who conducted rituals for the kingdom. To support his claim of innocence, he asserts that he was the individual who found Warrior X's body while trying to pull him back from a deviation spell. He adds that he also offered a prayer for concerning his suspicions. He mentions that the least suspicious individual might actually be the one responsible for the crime. With that, the initial round of speeches concludes. 3 players cast their votes to eliminate Player A. In spite of A's objections, the host removes him and discloses his identity as a member of the team. Nonetheless, the game carries on. The host refreshes their backstory cards with new hints, and the remaining players are now required to express their personal views on the updated information. Player B speaks first, disclosing that her clue indicates the guard consistently obeys the king's orders. However, she proposes that this may be untrue since the guard could have been betraying the king from within the shadows. Next up is Lu. He reveals that his clue indicates the mage never departed from the altar that night. However, he once more redirects suspicion towards Player B, highlighting that she has yet to address his previous worries regarding her hidden connection with Warrior X. Now it is Player D's turn to share her thoughts. Her clue shows that Player B, the minister's daughter, had an unhealthy obsession with Warrior X and even threatened him, stating that if she couldn't have him, she would ruin him. Next, it is the mage's turn. His clue indicates that based on divination, Player D is a competent and reliable ally. As the round concludes, Player B receives 2 votes and is eliminated. However, to everyone's disappointment, she is not the murderer either, and the game continues. In the 3rd round, the debate turns into a free-for-all, permitting players to communicate openly before deciding when to conclude the discussion and vote. Lu suggests carefully examining the clues, but before he can proceed, Player D interrupts, asserting that the killer is now evident. According to Player D, she realized that Player B was not the murderer, but she voted her out to flush out the actual perpetrator. She accuses Lu of being the killer, claiming that he accepted her false testimony instead of disputing it. She adds that Lu's eye movements appeared more focused on finding a way to conceal himself and eliminate others rather than seeking the true murderer. Lu, unperturbed, calmly sits down and tells her to vote if she is so convinced instead of wasting time. With nothing further to say, the mage remains quiet as the voting commences. When the votes are cast, Lu and the mage vote against D's while D votes against Lu. With 2 votes cast against her, Player D is eliminated, and Lu, as the murderer, wins the game. Witnessing this, the mage drops to his knees in despair while Player D is left in shock, questioning why the mage turned against her. Lu explains that from the very first round, he anticipated that D would eventually reveal his identity through the elimination process. However, the mage had been utilizing a different reasoning, suspecting the least apparent individual from the beginning, as he had mentioned in the first round. Player realizes that Lu intentionally lost the argument against her to make it appear as though he was wrong, which led the mage to vote her out. As they are eliminated, they fall from the pillar and Walter appears, congratulating everyone before announcing a break before the final stage. Lu's entire group survives, and as they regroup, they are transported to an arena for the upcoming round. A vast crowd is gathered, and Walter is now present in person as the host. He then greets the king of the Tapani Kingdom, Jin, who is observing the competition. King Jin conveys his excitement and appreciation to all participants before announcing the rewards for the top 3 competitors. 3 legendary gemstones that can be set into weapons. These gems are exceedingly rare, capable of bestowing unique abilities when integrated into a weapon, and are valued at hundreds of millions due to their high demand and non-existent supply. Upon hearing this, the leader of the Daybreaker Guild instructs his men to do whatever is necessary to obtain all 3 gemstones for their team. The crowd erupts with enthusiasm as the king officially declares the commencement of the next round. With that, Walter steps forward and outlines the competition's rules. The contest is a one-on-one battle where the goal is to knock the opponent off the platform. The Ultimate Champion will receive a substantial amount of experience and prestige along with the legendary gemstones. Additionally, they will have the honor of selecting their companions for the mission to rescue the king's daughter. The matchmaking, however, is random, and Lu's number is drawn first for a duel against another player. As his team cheers him on, Lu remembers having taken part in similar arena contests before. However, as he walks onto the battlefield, he is taken aback by the sight of his adversary. Lu's opponent is the warrior he once bested during his very first boss event, the same man who sought the treasure but was defeated in the process. Since that time, the warrior has become more powerful, having learned from his earlier loss at Lu's skeletal hands. Nonetheless, he remains oblivious that he is now up against the very same boss, only in human form, a lone wolf by nature. The warrior is set on becoming stronger with every fight, overcoming even the most insurmountable challenges. With steadfast determination, he dares Lu to strike first. Yet before his words can fully escape his lips, Lu has already slashed his throat, dispatching him in an instant with effortless accuracy. As the warrior's body starts to fade away, disappointment envelops him as he had wished to display his true strength, but was defeated before he even got the opportunity. The host swiftly declares Lu's triumph, while members of the Daybreaker Guild recognize him from the stage where they had once tried to eliminate him. Next is Luna's turn, and she quickly overpowers her rival with her refined and precise swordsmanship, clinching her own victory with ease. Fei Tu fries her opponent's vulnerable spots and makes it to the top 16 alongside the others. Mami literally sends a guy to Mars with her powerful strike, and upon witnessing her fight, the Daybreak Guild recognizes her fighting style. The next contest is Chili against one of the Daybreak members, Diane. They both confidently step onto the stage, supported by the cheers of their teammates. The audience is also quite excited to see professional players compete. Chili too exudes confidence, and in response, Diane boldly comments on her chest resembling an airport runway. This infuriates Chili, and with that she charges at Diane, but Diane effortlessly dodges the attack by swiftly moving aside. The match intensifies as both fighters exchange blows, but despite avoiding most of them, Diane begins to sustain injuries. Realizing she must get serious, Diane utilizes her death summoning technique, Flame Spirit, to conjure a fiery hound and sends it toward Chili. Taken by surprise, Chili attempts to evade the beast by leaping into the air, but to her astonishment, the creature teleports in front of her and strikes. Faye grows concerned for her while Mami remains unfazed, knowing that the summoned beast has a higher attack power than Chili. Seeing Chili hurt, Diane suggests that she surrender, but Chili dismisses it and charges toward her. As she approaches, Chili unleashes a fiery tornado. Diane tries to evade, but Chili suddenly teleports behind her and strikes with the tornado, defeating her instantly. Believing she has triumphed, Chili fails to perceive that Diane is still alive. In a quick counterattack, Diane employs her death summoning technique, summoning 5 of her beasts and launching them at Chili, sending her flying. The host, astonished by the turn of events, announces Diane's victory as Chili is unable to stand. He then commends the resilience of the Daybreak Guild and declares the commencement of the next round of the competition. As the dust settles, Chili's teammates lift her up, reassuring her that she performed well despite the defeat. However, Chili remains profoundly disappointed in herself and begins to cry. Wiping away her tears, she seethes with resolve, vowing to return stronger and take revenge on those who ridiculed her for having a flat chest. This battle also makes Lu's group realize that the Daybreak Guild is far more formidable than they had expected, and will present a significant challenge in future encounters. The host announces the next battle featuring Daybreak Guild's Feng, who quickly lives up to his reputation by effortlessly dispatching his opponent. The guild's archer follows suit, using his splitting arrow technique to pierce his rival from all angles, rendering any attempts to block the assault futile. The next match features Lei, who overwhelms his foe with lightning-fast strikes, eliminating him without even needing to draw his sword. Finally, the leader of the Daybreak Guild steps into the arena. Instead of launching an attack, he calmly points out his opponent's weaknesses, criticizing his improper grip and lack of control over his weapon. The audience grows puzzled, expecting a fight, but the opponent, visibly anxious, hesitates. As the Daybreak leader critiques and refines his technique, the opponent ultimately concedes the match on his own. Witnessing this, other contestants lose their will to fight and begin forfeiting without even attempting to engage. With the top 8 nearing fulfillment, Luna faces off against Daybreak's Diane for the final slot. Encouraged by her team's cheers, she steps into the arena while the crowd erupts into chants for Daybreak. Immediately, Diane makes a comment about Luna's chest, asserting it is larger than Chili's. As Luna retorts, Diane swiftly conjures her beasts and sends them charging at her. In response, Luna employs Starlight Slash to dazzle Diane before shifting to strike from the flank. Diane, though evading the assault by mere inches, has her blindfold sliced in the process. Luna does this purposefully, wishing to confront her rival directly and see her eyes during their clash. Witnessing this, Chili and her crew cheer enthusiastically while the members of Daybreak observe with newfound admiration for Luna. Diane's expression lights up with a wild grin as she starts conjuring her beasts, asserting that the disparity in their skill levels is vast. As her summoned creatures charge, Luna leaps into the air to avoid them, but to her astonishment, they attack from all angles. Before she can respond, Diane ensnares her against a boulder, leaving her exposed. Luna's team watches in disbelief, realizing that even she is grappling with Diane, whose command over her 5 attribute summons makes her an overwhelmingly formidable adversary. Just as Diane believed she had triumphed, Lu understood that Luna was still poised within the rock. Suddenly, Luna erupted, her massive sword cleaving through the stone as she unleashed a powerful blow at Diane. Despite the explosive power of the strike, Diane managed to deflect it with her shield. Fueled by fury and resentment, she instantly countered. Diane's deep-rooted bitterness was born from her childhood, where she perpetually witnessed her parents battling at home, blaming her for their conflicts. She was also persistently bullied by other girls who ridiculed and humiliated her due to her parents' divorce. The years of torment cultivated an overwhelming animosity within her, prompting her to retaliate brutally against her tormentors. Seeking an escape from her difficulties, she entered the game where her fellow gamer Hu commended her for her skilled plays. However, Hu also held a perverse interest in her, and tried to coerce her into being his girlfriend, a situation that made Diane feel nauseated. She swiftly fought back, and as Hu attempted to assault her, the Daybreak clan came to her aid, ultimately expelling him from the gaming cafe. The leader of Daybreak then proposed Diane a role in their guild, claiming they recognized great potential in her and wished for her to be part of their team. Now in the present, Diane is filled with fury, as she fights not only for herself but also to represent Daybreak, the guild that rescued her life. Determined to triumph for them, she unleashes her 5 summons attack, merging it with a sure kill technique to send an enormous beam toward Luna. The sheer force of the assault seems to entirely eliminate Luna from the arena, leaving the entire audience in disbelief. However, Lu knows that Luna is clever. To everyone's amazement, Luna is still in the match, balancing on her sword at the edge of the stage. As she leaps back onto the battlefield, Diane is momentarily stunned, believing Luna had jumped from the ground. However, the audience understands otherwise. Now it is Luna's turn to strike. With a mighty swing, she sends a slash wave toward Diane, who counters it with her own. Suddenly, a few bright stars twinkle in the sky, momentarily dazzling Diane. As she struggles to comprehend the sudden brightness, stars begin showering down on her summons, wiping them all out. Compelled to retreat into her barrier, Diane remains vigilant. Luna seizes the moment, using her giant sword slash as a diversion before swiftly leaping behind Diane. Catching her off guard, Luna strikes from the rear, delivering a decisive slash and winning the round. Despite her triumph, Luna extends a hand of camaraderie, assisting Diane up as she claims the final position in the top rankings. The next round of eliminations will narrow the contestants from 8 to 4, and with only the strongest players remaining, the battles are sure to become even more intense. The contestants receive a brief respite as the arena undergoes repairs. As Luna rejoins her team, they commend her for her remarkable performance. However, deep down, she realizes that her opponent had been battling under immense pressure. Luna's intuition is correct. Diane stands before her guild feeling profoundly disheartened and questioning her worthiness to belong to their team. However, the leader reassures her, reminding her that she is skilled but simply hasn't had sufficient time to practice, as she is still new to the guild. This match serves as a wake-up call for the guild, making them recognize that their rivals are not to be underestimated. With the arena now fully restored, the next round commences. The first match pits Lu against Daybreak's Feng. Feng, eager for the challenge, boldly proclaims his intent to battle Lu to the very end. As the round commences, both combatants charge towards each other with full force. The instant they crash, the entire platform shatters once more. Both fighters unleash unyielding assaults, blocking and evading each other's strikes without either surrendering. Despite facing difficulties, Feng becomes increasingly exhilarated, realizing that Lu is even stronger than he was before. They rush at each other once more, moving with blinding pace and generating an electrifying ambiance in the arena. The Daybreak Guild watches in admiration, impressed by Lu's display, while Lu's team grows progressively worried about Feng's velocity and power. As the conflict escalates, Feng rips off his shoulder armor, asserting it was merely a warm-up. In response, Lu discards his cape, and with that, they recommence their offensive. As Lu swings his sword, Feng catches it with his bare hands, spins around, and flings it away. Now compelled into hand-to-hand combat, they exchange a torrent of punches. Feng relentlessly delivers strike after strike, but Lu manages to block each one. However, Feng soon spots an opening, knocking Lu to the floor. As Lu rises, he quickly retaliates with a fierce knee to Feng's face. Both fighters land brutal hits, transforming the match into a bloody spectacle. With each passing second, the battle grows more savage. Lu begins to exhibit signs of fatigue, and Feng seizes another chance, delivering a crushing punch that sends Lu crashing to the ground. However, instead of celebrating, Feng freezes in fear, realizing something is amiss. Without a moment's pause, he pivots and starts running. Lu tricks Feng, using the force of his opponent's attack to launch himself towards his weapon. Successfully retrieving it, He promptly slashes Feng down. His entire team erupts in cheers, but the Daybreak clan leader remains unfazed. He knows that Feng is akin to a wild wolf, clever and unyielding, and his instincts prove right. Despite being wounded, Feng rises with an even more potent aura, his energy surging due to his passive ability, which enhances his strength as his health diminishes. Empowered by this skill, Feng summons his sword and charges at Lu without hesitation. With a devastating blow, he sends Lu flying despite his effort to block. Feng then follows up with an aerial strike, landing a heavy hit on Lu's shoulder. Relentless, Feng unleashes a barrage of attacks, hammering Lu's sword and sending shockwaves through the arena. As the dust clears, Feng anticipates victory, but to his astonishment, Lu rises once more and resumes the fight. Seizing an opening, Lu suddenly leaps behind Feng, aiming for a backstab. However, this time, Feng reacts swiftly, countering his attack and sending Lu soaring again. Both fighters remain airborne, their respective teams watching with intense anticipation. Moments later, they crash back onto the ground. Now, Feng stands fully enveloped in power and aura, determined to conclude this battle. With his blade raised, Feng activates his forced battle intent targeting Lu. This ability renders Lu incapable of dodging Feng's strikes and leaves him exposed for 10 seconds. Seizing the moment, Feng unleashes his wolf strike, preparing to hit Lu with total force. However, our boy, having fought so fiercely for so long, calls forth another weapon to fight with both hands. This new weapon, Hidden Dragon in the Abyss, was gained by Lu after defeating the bishop and is extremely potent. The two clash with a burst of energy, Lu's dragon attack countering Feng's. Both fighters become energized by the thrill of the battle, excitement driving them to push their limits. As they collide, a massive beam of energy extends into the air, creating a thick cloud of smoke around them. The arena is enveloped in dust, and for a moment, neither can see the result of the battle. As the dust dissipates, two cliffs remain. Feng lies on one and Lu stands triumphant on the other. The host announces Lu's victory, advancing him to the next stage. The Daybreak Guild is taken aback to witness their skilled Feng lose in a direct confrontation despite inflicting more damage during the final exchange of blows. Nevertheless, the guild leader comprehends that Feng's ambition to grow stronger, driven by his passive spell, led to a reduction in his health, ultimately resulting in his defeat. The leader also recognizes that Lu has yet to reveal his complete potential, rendering him a particularly fascinating rival. Meanwhile, in the arena, Lu assists Feng to stand. Feng is impressed by Lu's last move, Hidden Dragon in the Abyss, and is pleased with the result of the battle. Lu reciprocally commends Feng's strength, acknowledging the challenge of the fight. Feng extends an invitation to Lu to join the Daybreak Guild, but Lu declines, stating he has more pressing matters to address. So Feng invites Lu to a real-life barbecue gathering sometime, and Lu consents. With that, the host announces an intermission as the arena requires repairs once again. He turns to the king, inquiring how much more they should bolster the arena. The king commands the utmost level of reinforcement and urges them to act quickly. Although the king appears healthy from the front, he is in fact gravely ill with cords attached to his body, leaving him with little time remaining. After a while, the arena is restored and the matches commence again. Next up is Fei's against the Daybreak leader, Shu. Upon seeing Shu, Fei's jaw drops as he realizes he's facing the final boss. However, he quickly assesses the situation and concludes that if he manages to triumph over Shu, it will be a significant setback for his adversary and he will gain recognition. Instead of taunting or challenging Fei, Shu asks if Fei understands what a magician should do against a warrior. According to Shu, a magician should maintain distance, but as he states this, he charges at Fei with full force. Caught by surprise, Fei manages to defend against the attack. However, Shu seizes the moment to instruct him, suggesting Fei utilize his left hand as it is nearer. As Fei attempts to cast his blasts, Shu interrupts his spellcasting. Furious, Fei retreats and channels his fireballs, but as he does, Shu asserts that this time his strategy is correct. Just as Fei is about to unleash the fireballs, Shu interrupts again, using his beams to disrupt the attack. Witnessing Fei drop to the ground in utter disbelief, Shu looms over him and asks him to concede, noticing that Fei's fighting spirit seems to have diminished. The host and even Mami recognize the vast disparity between their abilities. Mami knows Shu's true name, Yang, a professional gamer who has been competing for 15 years and has secured 30 championship trophies. He retired and transitioned to coaching, but for this event, he returned to compete as a player. Fei, glancing at Chili cheering for him, feels embarrassed. However, when he notices Lu pointing towards his ear, Fei suddenly recalls something. He remembers the time they faced the ultimate world boss of the game in the cafe, and his older brother Han advised him to play by ear as a tactic. Fei, hearing this, contemplates that he might be a liability, which is why his brother encouraged him to play by ear. But Han reassures him that he is the most adaptable and can generate ideas according to the situation, which is why he needs to trust his instincts and adjust as necessary. Back in the present with that memory in mind, Fei stands up, regaining his fighting spirit. Frustrated by Shu's constant jibes, Fei requests C to play him some music. With a crackle of his fire magic, Fei charges towards Shu. Dancing to the music while charging towards Shu, Fei confuses him. As Fei approaches, Shu swings his sword, but Fei slides between Shu's legs, aiming a cheeky attack at his groin. However, Shu flips, dodging the strike effortlessly. Deciding to confront head-on, Fei unleashes a flurry of fireballs toward the advancing Shu, who, while rushing forward, continues to lecture Fei about the errors he is making. As Shu closes in, Fei conjures a swirling tornado of flames, and they both begin trading punches at each other within the fiery cyclone. Shu realizes that despite being a mage, Fei possesses remarkably refined close combat skills. However, as Fei remains a mage at heart, Shu swings his enormous blade, sending Fei flying. Still airborne, Fei retaliates, summoning thousands of fireballs in the sky and crashing them all down onto Shu at once. This explosive assault generates such intense heat and blinding light that it leaves many spectators momentarily dazzled. As the smoke clears, Shu appears unhurt, clutching his enormous shield with a self-satisfied grin. This leaves Chili bewildered, amazed that despite absorbing such a tremendous blast, Shu remains unharmed. Lu discloses that Shu skillfully dodges and mitigates the damage, effortlessly brushing off the assault. Returning to the confrontation, Fei becomes fatigued, draining his energy to keep Shu at bay. Shu, noticing Fei's heavy breathing, advances, taking the initiative. As Shu swings his huge sword, Fei, in a breathtaking display, halts the blade with his bare hand. This accomplishment signals Fei's activation of his ultimate firepower technique, a legendary skill that consumes all his mana points to provide him with tremendous strength. Shu, surprised by the spectacle of such a powerful move, hesitates, but Fei does not waste time. He delivers a fierce kick, propelling Shu into the air. As Shu struggles to comprehend, Fei dashes behind him in a blur and with another forceful strike, sends him crashing to the ground. Fei relentlessly continues, conjuring his signature swirling fire tornadoes, which spiral with fierce intensity, captivating both groups of spectators. Drawing on every last bit of his remaining spells and energy, Fei summons a gigantic Goku-like fireball and hurls it toward Shu with unwavering ferocity. Noticing the oncoming attack, Shu realizes that absorbing it would be disastrous, so he quickly employs his shield parry skill, meant to reflect a single enemy strike. As Shu sends the enormous fireball back, Fei finds himself completely out of mana, leaving him unable to evade. The attack strikes him directly, sending him crashing to the ground. Shu, standing triumphant, commends Fei's spellcasting, calling him gifted. Suddenly, a gust of wind sweeps past him, capturing everyone's attention with his impressively defined cheeks. The whole crowd becomes momentarily distracted, admiring the sheer definition of his rock-solid rear. Meanwhile, as Fei lies vanquished on the ground, he feels no regret in himself. Instead, he stays concentrated, knowing he has gathered valuable insights about Shu, knowledge that will be vital for his brother in the forthcoming battle. Shu, still standing with his pants down, commends Fei for a commendable effort, causing his entire crew and even the hosts to cringe in embarrassment. For the next round, Mami strides onto the stage with assurance. However, to her astonishment, her opponent, the archer from the Daybreak group, already recognizes her. He claims to be her longtime admirer, having followed her career closely. He knows her tale, the competition she took part in and won, and even the guild she was once associated with. Despite her impressive legacy, the archer expresses disappointment that she retired so soon. Upon hearing this, Mami briefly wonders if the guy has feelings for her. However, with Lu watching her intently, she knows there's no time for doubt. Just as she processes everything, Chili urgently alerts her that the archer is channeling something behind him while keeping her distracted with his chatter. Suddenly, a colossal tree bursts forth from behind the archer, its thick branches shooting skyward, shaking the ground with its sheer might. The spell, Descent of the Demonic Tree, conjures a massive, sinister tree whose demonic vines lash out at adversaries. As the towering tree takes shape, the archer swiftly leaps to the top, preparing to strike from above. However, Mami is not one to retreat. She charges at the tree, slicing through its thick roots, while the archer retaliates with his Rain of Arrows spell. As countless arrows fall from the sky, she conjures a barrier around herself, deflecting them. But before she can catch her breath, the archer follows up with an invisible arrow, a precise shot that barely grazes her hair. Unfazed, Mami presses forward, blocking the unrelenting stream of arrows as she closes the gap. She quickly realizes that the archer is using the tree as a vantage point, combining it with his kiting technique to wear her down. If she doesn't disrupt his strategy soon, she'll be at a significant disadvantage. With a quick decision, she chops off a massive log from the demonic tree and hurls it directly at the archer, forcing him to react. Using the log as a springboard, Mami propels herself upward, closing in on the archer. In response, he shoots his mandala arrow to halt her midair. She blocks the attack, but just as she prepares to strike, he counters with a blank arrow, sending her crashing back to the ground. The archer smirks. Confident in his upper hand, he reminds her that an archer in a fortified position always has trump cards. As Mami tries to retort, an unexpected weariness overwhelms her. Her body feels heavy, her movements sluggish. A chilling awareness dawns. She's been poisoned. Observing her hesitation, the archer nonchalantly clarifies that the toxin originates from his mandala arrow, a lethal technique crafted to sap her strength until she's completely drained. With a mocking smirk, he mocks her, questioning how long she can endure the poison's effects while he constantly regenerates mana. Mami grips her injury, fully conscious that she has only 30 seconds before the toxin incapacitates her. In this brief period, she must bridge the gap to the archer while dodging his unyielding assaults, including his devastating knockback attack. As she devises a plan, the archer releases another flurry of arrows. She quickly evades and surges forward, closing the distance. To gain speed, she activates Mountain Shaking Stomp, launch herself high into the air. With her leg coiled for a powerful kick, she aims straight at the archer. However, he counters with a knockback arrow, sending her spiraling backward. But mid-air, Mami refuses to lose control. She unleashes her clap attack, hitting the archer and throwing him off balance. As he stumbles on the branch, she seizes her chance and launches herself at him with all her might. In desperation, the archer retaliates with a barrage of arrows, but Mami, unfazed, tears off a section of tree bark and uses it as a shield against the bolts. Just when victory appears within reach, another mandala arrow hits her. Her body grows numb as she starts dropping toward the ground, free-falling with no way to halt her descent. The Daybreak Guild members watch in awe, admiring the archer's cunning style, a strategy based on analyzing his foes and crafting the ideal counterattack. Despite Momfi's fall from the tree, the competition carries on, intensifying Archer's paranoia. To his shock, she suddenly rises from the debris and charges at him with only 3 seconds left before the poison takes effect. As Archer releases a blank arrow, she evades it by sliding across the ground and counters with her ultimate strike, unleashing an unrelenting flurry of punches. Consumed by fury, she persists in her assault, hitting him incessantly. With just 1 second remaining until the toxin takes effect, she delivers a crushing blow to Archer's midsection, bringing him down as she collapses beside him at the exact moment the countdown concludes. Both Archer and Mami are knocked out simultaneously, losing their ability to continue the battle. Consequently, the host consults the king to determine the final result. The members of the Daybreak Guild are equally astonished that Mami managed to reduce 70% of Archer's health points in just 3 seconds, an impressive achievement. According to their leader, she may have entered the zone state, a supernatural physical and mental condition seen among athletes. In this state, individuals perceive everything around them as slow, predictable, and weak, enabling them to perform seemingly superhuman feats. Hearing this, Feng becomes eager to experience it as well. After a while, the host returns with the verdict to eliminate both competitors as both were knocked out at the same time and the match continues. Mami, feeling disheartened, is comforted by her group as they try to uplift her spirits. Lu also commends her, instantly boosting her morale as she regards him as her husband. Next are the final 2 competitors of the round, Luna versus Daybreak Lei. As Luna approaches the stage, she receives a call from her father who informs her that the lab results indicate her compatibility level is higher than others, urging her to join him at the company. Excited by the chance to accompany her father, Luna is eager to comply but requests some time since her match is about to commence. However, her father declines, stating that a guard will arrive shortly to escort her. As he speaks, chaos erupts in the aquarium with sharks going wild as the larger ones brutally consume the smaller ones. Back in the game, Luna apologizes to her teammates, explaining that she needs to depart. They reassure her not to fret, reminding her that Lu is still in the competition. With that, she logs off, resulting in Daybreak Lei progressing to the next level without a fight. With only 3 players remaining for the finals, the host, following a majority vote, pairs Daybreak Lei against their leader Shu in a semi-final match. This excites Lei's group, as it means he advances directly into the finals. Meanwhile, within the Daybreak team, a discussion arises about Lei forfeiting the match. However, Lei insists on battling Lu. In response, Shu steps back and relinquishes the match to prevent an unnecessary conflict among their own members. The host recognizes this as a prudent choice and officially announces the concluding match between Lu and Daybreak's Lei. As their names are announced, Lu's team cheers for him, but just as he is about to step onto the stage, Feng halts him, revealing vital information about Lei to level the playing field. Having observed some of his moves in their previous encounter, Feng asserts that there is no way Lu can overcome her. With that, both competitors step onto the stage and the final round commences. As the whistle blows, both combatants rush at each other with their stealth abilities activated, disappearing from view. Completely unseen, they reappear by launching and parrying each other's strikes. Their duel unfolds in a whirlwind of rapid movements, so swift and fierce that the spectators feel as if multiple fighters are clashing throughout the arena. Seizing a brief opening, Lu strikes at Lei, but she effortlessly evades and responds with a flurry of kicks, pushing him back. Unwilling to yield, both hit each other simultaneously, creating a powerful shockwave that propels them in opposite directions. Observing this, Lu's group realizes that the two seem to be on equal footing. They charge at each other once again, unleashing a series of proficient attacks after catching their breath. As Lu lunges forward, Lei quickly sidesteps and counters, pushing him into a vulnerable stance. With his back exposed, she follows up with a powerful kick, but at the last instant, Lu reacts. He blinks behind her just in time using his backstab ability. As he is about to strike, she also swiftly employs backstab behind Lu, landing an accurate hit. She follows up with a flying cross-arm bar, compelling Lu to struggle to regain his weapon. Despite the disadvantage, he manages to grasp it and pushes her away. While battling her, Lu begins to realize that she is testing him. He recalls Feng mentioning that Lei is exceptionally formidable and was once a celebrated mercenary captain. Highly skilled in various firearms, she possesses remarkable precision and near-flawless knife techniques. However, during a mission to save kidnapped children with bombs strapped to them, she was betrayed by her own comrades who had been bribed by the enemy. Despite suffering injuries, she succeeded in eliminating them all, but only with the last few rounds left in her gun. Despite this, she hurled her dagger toward the criminal leader holding the detonator for the explosives. However, he managed to activate it before succumbing to his wounds, triggering the explosions and killing everyone present. This traumatic experience was why Lei left her life as a mercenary and returned to her homeland, where Shu later found her and introduced her to esports. Now she is not only an elite marksman, but also the top-ranked assassin on the list. Recalling these details only amplified Lu's excitement. With their power fully harnessed, both fighters charged at each other once more, prepared for an intense confrontation. As they collide, Lu becomes frustrated that Lei is fighting with her unsheathed sword. Fueled by that anger, he swings at her, but she swiftly dodges. However, Lu quickly follows up with another blow, sending Lei staggering backward. She recognizes that his twin swords are remarkably fast as she deflects them, forcing her to readjust her strategy. Jumping back, Lei activates her Thunder Clone technique, creating 5 identical clones that relentlessly assault Lu from all directions. Despite his attempts to block their strikes, he still suffers damage. Desperate, he tries a counterattack only to realize too late that he has been targeting a clone. The real Lei stands behind him. Reacting quickly, Lu casts his backstab and clone spell, hitting Lei from both the front and back simultaneously. Lei manages to evade by sidestepping, and her team watches in awe at the sheer number of tricks Lu has in his arsenal. However, Feng understands the reality. Despite Lu's efforts, he stands little chance against an enraged Lei. Back in the fight, Lei finally unsheathes her sword, releasing a tremendous surge of energy that crackles through the air. She declares that its power is too overwhelming, which is why she had refrained from using it until this moment. Without hesitation, she sends a colossal slash toward Lu, striking him with enormous force. As Lu struggles to regain his footing, his clone charges at Lei in an effort to halt her, but she reveals that her Thunder Sword strike is unstoppable until its target is eliminated. Meanwhile, Lu, overwhelmed by the tremendous skill pressure, finds himself immobilized. In desperation, he activates his Dragon Abyss spell, countering Lei's strike just in time. A gigantic lightning bolt strikes down upon her, shaking the battlefield with its sheer might. The entire crowd is captivated by the overwhelming energy and destructive force of the confrontation. Even the Daybreak group watches in astonishment, their eyes widening as they witness something entirely unexpected. As the dust settles, Lu warns his clone to remain vigilant, but before it can respond, Lei suddenly steps out from a portal and stabs him. It is her Divine Escape passive skill, which enables her to retreat into a portal whenever she sustains lethal damage. However, Lei is startled when she realizes that she has hit Lu's clone. The actual Lu stands right before her unharmed. Both combatants acknowledge each other's power, but Lei, unfazed, asserts that resistance is pointless. Without delay, she summons her illusions once more, unleashing a tempest of massive electric strikes in the arena. The strikes are so potent that even the birds are not spared. These strikes converge in the sky before crashing down to the ground. Lu narrowly evades the onslaught, growing anxious upon realizing that his opponent's ability has no cooldown. Fei also finds it unjust, considering his ultimate move has a cooldown while hers does not. Meanwhile, Feng remains attentive, understanding that despite Lu's attempts, the outcome of the battle now relies on Lei. Wielding the mythical grade weapon, the Thunderblade, she has access to extraordinarily powerful spells. Lu is astonished to see such a weapon in her possession, knowing that no known boss has been shown to drop it. Lei then discloses that she acquired it during the closed beta, further shocking Lu. Realizing this, he grows curious about his brother Han and inquires whether Lei has any information about him. She confirms that she does, but refuses to divulge anything unless Lu can defeat her. Believing that, as Han's sibling, he should be far beyond her level, she sets the condition that if he fails, she will not reveal a single detail. Lu accepts the challenge and charges forward with complete determination. As he closes the distance, he leaps into the air, activating his rending burst blade. Lei counters instantly with a thunder explosion, unleashing a tremendous blast. Despite absorbing the impact, Lu continues to battle against her clones while being attacked from all sides. Although he endures several hits, he manages to eliminate all the clones. However, the effort leaves him critically injured. Observing his weakened state, Lei remarks that he will not last long enough to learn anything about his brother. This ignites a renewed sense of determination in Lu, driving him to launch another attack. Lei, however, sees through his tactics immediately. As a clone rushes toward her from the front, she quickly deduces that the real Lu is approaching from the side. Reacting promptly, she slashes at the incoming figure only to be caught off guard. Lu, using his play swap skill, switches places with his clone at the last moment, trapping them both within the encircling force of his rendering spell blade. Lei realizes that he intends to take her down with him, but before she can respond, she is stunned by the sight before her. Standing in front of her, exuding an immense and terrifying aura, Lu is transformed into his maniac Asura form. The energy from Lu's form is so intense that it begins to crack Lei's mask. This triggers a memory from 2 years ago when she and Shu were the only ones left standing after a brutal battle in the game. Despite their efforts, the mythical grade boss they had been facing remained undefeated. As members of the first guild to encounter this boss during the closed beta, they knew that the loot consisting of weapons and valuable resources would be immensely rewarding. With Shu fatigued and gravely injured, he handed Leia a code container, an item that would allow a weapon or piece of equipment to be bound exclusively to her. Before they could act further, the boss interrupted, launching a powerful beam at them. Shu, using the last of his strength, raised his shield to counter the attack, but his efforts were only enough to delay the inevitable. Moments later, he fell, dying in the game. Seizing the opportunity his sacrifice had created, Lei instantly activated her Thunder Clone technique and blended it with her sword skills. Through an intense and arduous battle, she unleashed a catastrophic final strike, completely annihilating the boss. As Lei delivers the decisive blow to the boss, a knight suddenly materializes from within, radiating potent thunder energy. Identifying himself as Helmut Thunder, he proclaims that she alone has witnessed his authentic form. Ascending into the air, he commands Lei to quail before him and unleashes a devastating hellish assault, annihilating everything in the vicinity. Focusing on Lei, he prepares to barrage her with his immense force emanating from within, making her feel utterly powerless. Just as the strike is about to hit, another voice calls out, interrupting the knight and admonishing him for intimidating Lei. Annoyed, Helmut swiftly redirects his attention to the newcomer's strikes. However, before he can land the blow, the figure, Han, fully transformed into his Asura form, retaliates with a powerful beam, instantly obliterating nearly half of the knight's body. Recognizing the assault, the knight hesitates and questions whether he is genuinely Lady Wu Han, dismissing the comment as absurd, leaps down and, before the knight can counterattack, unleashes the full force of his Asura mode, shattering him apart. As the knight fades away, he drops the magical Thunder Sword, its blade humming with power. Lei swiftly jumps forward and seizes it while Han calmly tells her it's hers to keep and introduces himself. Lei is taken aback by his kindness, amazed that Han allows her to take the legendary sword so effortlessly even though she pilfered it. As Lei walks away, she vows to repay him for his generosity. Back in the present, everyone observes nervously, staring at the glowing red sphere that Lu has just created, its energy illuminating the air. But when the sphere vanishes, the crowd gasps. Lu stands with his sword pressed against Lei's neck, with her own weapon lying on the ground. Realizing he has the advantage, Lu demands information about his missing brother with resolve in his voice. Lei hears the inquiry and suddenly sees the spirit of Han standing beside Lu. Her thoughts drift back to the time she spent with Han after he defeated Helmut Thunder. Initially, Han aided her even though they were strangers, but Lei insisted on compensating him for the value of the Thunder Sword. To achieve this, she proposes traveling with him as his companion until the sword's worth is settled. Together, they battled numerous monsters side by side and overcame every challenge that confronted them. During these skirmishes, Lei witnessed Han's incredible power and his formidable Asura mode. One day, while combating a monster, Lei's mask fell off. As Han picked it up and returned it to her, he complimented her appearance even though Lei felt shy about the scar on her face. Han's kind words regarding her scar forge a deep emotional connection between them. Returning to the present, Lei adjusts her mask and reveals to Lu that she was in the same party as his brother during the beta test. Lu, eager to know more, asks when she last encountered his brother. Lei remembers a tranquil night when she and Han rested by a warm campfire. Han, however, appears troubled and reveals that a mysterious door had opened in the game, a door that should have remained sealed. He explains that he needs to depart for a time to close it, as he is the only one who can enter that place. Lei offers to accompany him, but Han declines, insisting she remain behind. He reassures her that once he returns, they will meet in real life for a date. Han also expresses his enthusiasm about introducing her to his brothers outside the game. After that, Lei never heard from Han again. As Lei recounts this story, Lu realizes that the door Han referred to might be the infernal purgatory that Lady Wu mentioned. Lei adds that Han cautioned her about the door, stating that if it isn't closed, its effects will spread everywhere. While they discuss this, the host suddenly interjects, excitedly declaring Lu as the winner of the competition. The crowd erupts into cheers and applause, celebrating his triumph. The king then steps forward to address the audience, announcing a grand award ceremony and inviting Lu onto the stage. But as the king speaks, he begins to bleed from his nose and mouth. Struggling to continue, he warns that there is no time left and urges everyone to hurry with the ceremony. With that, Lu and his group are escorted to the king's palace by the king's assistant. The assistant expresses regret at the entrance, explaining that he lacks authorization to enter, and hands them to two attendants. The attendants guide Lu's group inside, leading them through the magnificent palace. Along the way, they disclose that the members of the victorious team are permitted to select any treasure from the king's hoard, which is concealed deep beneath the palace. As they journey down into the treasury, the group is astonished by how far it descends. Faye, in particular, comments that kings must enjoy displaying their wealth, constructing such a grand palace with a vast underground treasury. His eyes brighten, however, when he spots heaps of shimmering gold and exceptional items awaiting inside. Chili and Faye dash towards the treasures, eager to seize everything, but the attendants quickly clarify that each individual can only take one item. Mommy insists she doesn't want anything and offers her portion to Lu, but Lu understands she is low on items and insists she chooses something for herself, acknowledging her need. Afterwards, Lu is led to the deepest section of the palace where he encounters the king. Two chairs are prepared for them and the king commands Lu to take a seat. Lu hesitates, startled by the king's frail and weakened state. The king gets straight to the matter, asking if Lu is curious why he was so eager to meet him. Lu, however, dismisses the query and instead demands to know why the king didn't send all his warriors to rescue his daughter rather than organizing the contest. The king, impressed, remarks that Lu is more astute than he anticipated. Suddenly, metal grips shoot out from the chair, restraining Lu in place. Unable to move, Lu listens as the king discloses the startling truth. Everything has been a deception, and the true purpose of the competition was to find the ideal vessel for him. With that, the king sheds his robes, exposing a frail and weakened physique underneath. Suddenly, his body starts to swell and grow stronger as he proclaims his intention to use Lu to regain his youth and become young again. Watching Lu struggle against the bindings, the king ridicules him, revealing that escape is futile because the locks on the chair are indestructible. With a sinister grin, the king approaches Lu, and a glowing mark on his chest starts to pulse, gradually draining Lu's life force. Meanwhile, Lu's group remains oblivious. Engrossed in exploring the treasury, Faye literally discovers the Infinity Gauntlet. Mommy, however, stays composed and notices the attendants securing the treasury door. When she inquires about this, the attendants begin channeling energy into their forms, exposing their true motives to ensnare the group and send them to their doom. Utilizing their powers and the enchanted equipment in the treasury, the attendants morph into two towering guard knights. The group stands in astonishment, but Mommy urges them to concentrate and fight for the moment. As they charge at one of the knights, it unleashes a formidable wing explosion spell, causing everyone to crash to the ground. The knights mock them, sneering that the group is far too feeble to contend with them. Despite being injured, Mommy realizes the knights are exceptionally strong and begins to worry about what kind of peril Lu might be facing. Meanwhile, our boy is getting drained, the life force. The king, eager to rationalize his actions, claims that unlike other kings who pursue immortality out of greed or a fear of death, he does it for the will of the people in the heavens. He believes the world is a chaotic realm overrun by monsters that devastate human lives, rendering even rivers unsafe. Eventually, people turn against one another, and the heavens, unable to endure the suffering any longer, choose the king as their savior. The king reveals that he was once enslaved by a cruel master. One day, furious at the master's brutality, he kills him with a large rock, earning gratitude of the other slaves he liberates. Together, they battle the master's army, emerging victorious after a fierce confrontation. With this triumph, the king forms a knight squad, defeats demons, restores the land, and gradually establishes a prosperous kingdom. He also marries to carry on his bloodline, but just as he reaches the pinnacle of his power, a mysterious illness strikes. The doctors warn him that his time is limited and death is imminent. The king, seeing himself as a beacon of hope for his people, refuses to accept death. Desperate, he implores the gods, questioning why they abandoned him after all his virtuous deeds. Willing to pay any cost, the heavens finally respond, granting him immense demonic power to siphon the life force from healthy beings. In a twisted demonic ceremony, the king first uses this power on his own wife, then targets his very own daughter, asserting it is all to restore light to the kingdom. Returning to the present, as he drains the life essence from Lu, he announces that Lu is the final phase in his strategy. Suddenly, Lu's body explodes in a spray of blood, but a voice calls out from above. The king looks up, astonished to discover that the Lu he attacked was merely a duplicate. The real Lu confronts him, denouncing the king's brutal actions. Furious, the king summons his aides for backup. The two aides leap to his assistance, and Lu, horrified, recognizes that his comrades might be in grave danger. The aides, mocking cruelly, confirm that his allies are already deceased. This revelation drives Lu into a state of pure rage. He charges at them, powered by fury, while the king sacrifices both aides, summoning a formidable sword and staff, channeling his energy into these lethal weapons. Meanwhile, the rest of Lu's team is expelled from the game as their mission abruptly concludes. Chili fumes over their missed opportunity to collect more items, while Mommy wonders if it might relate to a concealed mission With 30 minutes until they can revive, the team heads out for coffee to pass the time. At Lu's home, Faye also waits for the revival timer to expire, disappointed that he couldn't assist his brother. Once the timer ends, Faye logs back into the game. In the fierce battle between Lu and the king, Lu charges forward, his eyes burning with the intent to kill. Though the king blocks his assault, Lu cleverly employs a backstab technique, striking the king from behind. The slash leaves only a fleeting scratch on the king, who quickly recovers and launches a powerful spell in retaliation. However, the spell deliberately misses Lu as the king avoids harming his intended vessel. The king mocks Lu, demanding his surrender and calling him feeble, boasting that Lu has only battled minor monsters and players, while he, the king, has defeated entire armies of land and sea creatures. Lu realizes he is outmatched, nowhere near the king's level of power, but refuses to concede. Using a stealth spell, he slips into the shadows, gaining same height to strategize his next move. From his elevated position, Lu consumes a regenerative potion, realizing he needs to adopt a guerrilla-style approach to combat the king. The king, however, quickly discerns Lu's strategy. Declaring himself a tiger, the king casts a gravity control spell, creating a powerful force that pulls Lu toward the ground. Lu barely manages to land on his feet, but he swiftly conjures shadow clones and unleashes a relentless series of attacks on the king. The king blocks each strike effortlessly, and when he counterattacks, he leaves an opening for Lu to exploit. Despite Lu's efforts, the king captures Lu's sword with his bare hands while the spirits of the aides wield the weapons. The king then casts another gravity control spell, dragging Lu deeper into a swirling pool of water. Recognizing that the situation is becoming critical, Lu decides to play his trump card. As the king concentrates on his weapons, a blinding beam of light slashes across his cheek, followed by Lu emerging from the water in his powerful aqua form. Lu activates the Phantom God's earring, allowing him to transform into different races to gain unique advantages. Currently, he takes on the form of a fishman, boosting his capabilities in water. The king's enchanted weapons, furious at Lu's transformation, attempt to strike him, but Lu swiftly dives into the water. With a swift motion, he emerges from the side of the king, aiming for surprise attack from behind. However, the king's sword senses him and sends him flying through the air. As Lu descends, he transforms again, this time into a pigman, a race with enhanced attack power but diminished intelligence. In this form, he charges at the king with sheer force, slashing the king's left arm. The king's weapons retaliate, striking back and slicing Lu's arm in the process. Both quickly regenerate their wounds, and the king, impressed, commends Lu for his extraordinary skills. The king becomes even more exhilarated, thrilled that his intended vessel possesses such incredible abilities and hidden talents. Lu, however, realizes his usual tactics are ineffective and resolves to use his secret weapon, the hidden Dragon Abyss skill, as no other options seem viable. Banking on its power, Lu channels a massive amount of energy into the skill, launching himself at the king with overwhelming force, catching him off guard. Fueled by fury, Lu unleashes his attack toward the king, who charges forward and effortlessly disrupts it. To the king's surprise, however, the attack comes from a clone Lu created using the spell, while the real Lu lurks behind him, channeling the full power of the hidden Dragon Abyss. The true attack strikes the king head-on, sending him crashing into the palace wall with tremendous force. The king succeeds in mitigating the damage by summoning a protective shield and lands on his feet, now resolved to conclude the battle. Lu, feeling the pressure of combat, braces for what lies ahead. The king, exuding powerful energy, channels his gravity manipulation spell, creating a massive water sphere that ensnares Lu within. As Lu shifts back into his fishman form to navigate, sharp, jagged stones suddenly hurtle toward him, pinning him in the bubble. With a maniacal smile, the king presents Lu with a choice to accept his so-called baptism. Lu, however, is struck with disbelief as the king reveals that he knows Lu is merely a participant in the game. The king proclaims that the heavens have already disclosed the truths of their realm, explaining that it was designed solely to amuse players like Lu. Initially, the king believed this was merely a metaphor, but as the heavens heightened his intellect, he came to grasp the harsh reality. His existence is governed by rules, trapped in a never-ending cycle of repetition. Realizing he is nothing but a pawn in a game overseen by players, the king refuses to accept his destiny. He brands Lu and others like him as intruders, vowing that his purpose is to expel them all from his world. Lu, astonished, struggles to fathom how a digital character like the king can think so rationally and questions what this heaven he speaks of truly represents. Approaching Lu, the king reveals his chilling curiosity about discovering what happens to Lu's soul once he gains full control over his body. Desperate, Lu, recognizing the grave danger he's in, asks the king if he is familiar with Han. The name seems vaguely recognizable to the king, but he brushes it off as his mind is already set on eliminating Lu. Suddenly, Lu uses his race-switching ability, transforming into a pig in an effort to flee. But as the king starts to siphon his life force, he becomes furious, realizing that this too is just another clone, not the real Lu. Meanwhile, the genuine Lu conceals himself nearby, remaining cautious as he waits for the cooldown on his appearance-switching ability to finish. Using his lizard race form to scale, Lu attempts to escape, but the king, intent on seizing his body, decides to shatter Lu's arms and legs first, confident that he can mend the damage later. With a sinister smirk, the king conjures a deluge of water and casts an elemental control spell. Blocking the exit, Lu aims for with a wall of ice, but the king doesn't stop there. Suddenly, a storm of razor-sharp ice shards cascades down from the frozen barrier. Lu's body, vulnerable as a cold-blooded lizard, begins to freeze in the frigid temperatures, rendering him immobile. A massive shard strikes him, sending him crashing to the ground where it splinters into multiple jagged spikes, impaling Lu to an icy slab. With no other escape option, the king seizes Lu by the throat and prepares to drain Lu's life force. At that moment, Faye and Chili burst onto the scene with a fiery explosion, followed by Mommy, who charges in and delivers a powerful kick to the king, knocking him away and rescuing their teammate just in time. As the king regains his balance, his enchanted weapons express shock at seeing Lu's group alive, insisting that they had already slain them. The king, however, remains unfazed, explaining that this is typical behavior of the player race. They revive after death. He unveils his true plan. By completely eliminating a player using his body-snatching technique, he can seize control of their bodies and use them all as his vessels. Upon hearing this, Lu urgently warns his teammates to beware of the glowing symbol on the king's chest, which acts as his life-draining weapon. As the group rushes to aid Lu, the king commands his weapons to take them out. The staff charges toward Faye and Chili, who retaliate by launching fireballs at her. She effortlessly blocks their assaults, conjuring a gravitational barrier to protect herself. Unable to penetrate, Faye and Chili merge their powers, unleashing a dual tornado dance, a massive fiery explosion that shatters the barrier and scorches the steward in the process. The intense heat also melts all the surrounding ice. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, Mommy confronts the sword, unleashing her ultimate technique, a flurry of fists relentlessly pummeling him. She overwhelms the smaller foe, and as he attempts to counter, she sends him flying with her big melon's force. The king, however, catches the falling sword midair and, fueled by rage, unleashes a devastating sword wind explosion. As the colossal attack hurtles toward Lu's group, they brace for impact. Just in the nick of time, the Daybreak Guild arrives to assist, and their leader, Shu, employs his shield parry skill to deflect the king's assault, sending it roaring back toward the king and wounding him severely. Lu, taken aback to see the guild, learns from Faye that they were the ones who called for backup. The Daybreak Guild leader gives a thumbs up, offering their assistance in exchange for splitting the boss rewards 50-50, a proposal Lu's group quickly agrees to. With the deal struck, Feng, the Daybreak Guild's fierce combatant, charges at the king with a wild, manic grin while the rest of the guild takes their positions. As Feng swings his razor-sharp sword, the king narrowly dodges and counters, sending Feng flying through the air. Feng touches down elegantly on his feet and charges once more, this time accompanied by Lei. Just as the king gets ready to cast a formidable spell, the Daybreak Archer interrupts him, striking from an elevated position and disarming him, while Diane, another guild member, ensnares the king to the ground with binding roots. Immobilized, the king braces himself as Feng and Lei assault him unrelentingly from both flanks, their combined onslaught overwhelming his defenses. They both inflict solid slashes on the king, but Lei senses something amiss and urgently instructs Feng to fall back and create some space. It's already too late, however, as the king seizes them both by the arms and slams them against the palace wall with tremendous might. The Daybreak Archer trying to strike is countered when his own invisible arrow is sent soaring back, piercing his body. The king exploits his advantage, smashing Diane's summoned creature and moving to crush her, but Shu intervenes just in time, raising his shield to shield her. Furious, the king unleashes a furious barrage of punches against the shield, taunting Shu. In response, Shu transforms into his formidable half-demon form, determined to avenge his fallen comrades. While Shu previously concentrated on defense, he now counters the king's attacks with equal intensity. Meanwhile, Lu's group rushes to assist the injured Daybreak Guild members, aiding them in recovery. Amidst the chaotic clash, Shu unleashes his Daybreak Slash, creating an opportunity. Seizing the opportunity, Lu leaps behind the king and delivers a powerful cut to his back. This distraction buys sufficient time for the rest of the team to regroup, recuperate, and launch a relentless unified offensive on the king. Their collective strength tears through the palace, the sheer force of their strikes threatening to bring the entire structure crashing down in flames. The villagers gasp in astonishment as flames explode from the palace, while the guards shout for reinforcements to manage the turmoil. Inside, Lu's group and the Daybreak Guild wait anxiously for the dust to settle, aware they have unleashed the most potent attack they could muster. To their shock, the king emerges from the debris with only a few scratches, and even more surprisingly, his two minions are still alive. Without hesitation, the king sacrifices his minions, absorbing their power to enhance his own strength. The combined squad, seeing their opportunity, charges at the king, determined to finish him off once and for all. The king, now abandoning his intent to use Lu as a vessel, channels all his energy into his hands and slams them into the ground, unleashing a colossal shockwave. The devastating force rattles the entire kingdom, reducing the palace to ruins in an instant. Even the villagers far away feel the earth quaking beneath their feet. As the dust finally settles, all members of the Daybreak Guild and Lu's group lie lifeless except for Lu, who clings to life, severely wounded. The king, noticing Lu still alive, decides to take him as a vessel after all, his earlier determination forgotten. As Lu braces himself for the end, the Tome of Random Achievements unexpectedly activates. It assigns Lu as a daring mission to defeat the king single-handedly, not merely by winning, but by utterly humiliating him with overwhelming power. As the king prepares to drain Lu's life force, he pauses, curious if Lu has any final tricks up his sleeve. In an instant, Lu transforms into his Asura mode, his body emanating raw power. Impressed by Lu's indomitable fighting spirit despite the odds, the king acknowledges his resolve, and with that, the two launch into a fierce battle, trading relentless assaults. As they clash, the king realizes that Lu's speeds and strength have surged dramatically, catching him off guard. While the king processes this, Lu seizes the moment, grabbing the king by the face and dragging him across the ground with brutal force. The king retaliates, landing a powerful punch that sends Lu flying, then follows up with massive slashing fist strikes. Though the king fights fiercely, he grows anxious as Lu's fighting spirit intensifies, bolstered by the towering menacing form of an Asura dragon looming behind him. As the battle rages on, Lu suddenly leaps at the king, striking him in the face with his sharp horns. The king pushes him back, but Lu charges again, delivering a flurry of blows while taking hits in response. The intense fight carries on with both combatants sending each other crashing into the surrounding rubble, neither willing to yield. Despite Lu's zone cracking under the strain, he grows increasingly ferocious, which deeply unsettles the king. Pausing briefly to regain their breath, they resume their brutal clash. Meanwhile, the host and a few guards observing the devastated palace from a distance stand bewildered by the chaos unfolding. Suddenly, they spot Faye and the others tumbling out of the wreckage and rush to assist them. Back in the fight, the king struggles to keep up, realizing that he now has no option but to obliterate Lu entirely. Leaping into the air, the king unleashes a devastating explosive blast at Lu, but Lu, with astonishing force, interrupts the attack by simply swinging his bare hand. In retaliation, Lu unleashes his Asura assault, a relentless barrage of blows that slices the king in half. Bro got divided down. As the king's physique starts to revert to its frail state, he collapses, desperately begging Lu and the enigmatic infernal purgatory to rescue him. Lu, hearing the commotion, is taken aback and suddenly notices a vast digital fissure opening in front of him. Down on the ground, the hosts speculate that Faye and the others have been harmed by the wicked dragon that caused the palace's destruction. However, their jaws drop in astonishment as a colossal digital crack begins to take shape in the sky, reminiscent of an impending apocalypse. Back at the palace, relief spreads across the king's expression as he gazes at the crack, referring to it as infernal purgatory, an entity that has responded to his cries for help. Nonetheless, Lu has no tolerance for his musings. With a single decisive blow, he decapitates the king. In his last moments, the king gazes toward the crack, pondering if he will ever reunite with the goddess again. Lu, realizing that this could be the location where his brother Han is, immediately leaps toward the rift. Just as he is about to cross over, the game abruptly freezes. The entrance to Purgatory is right in front of him, yet he finds himself immobilized. A voice emanates from behind, coming from a floating orb, asking if he genuinely wishes to enter Purgatory in search of his brother. The orb then coldly discloses that Han is already deceased. Darkness clouds Lu's expression, but before despair can take hold, the orb casually claims it was merely joking. Suddenly, thousands more orbs appear, chattering amongst themselves, discussing whether to permit Lu entry. To resolve the issue, they decide to play rock, paper, scissors. When the deciding orb loses, the judgment is made. They collectively deny him access. Suddenly, a gigantic winged entity materializes, revealing that Lu is on the brink of dying. Without hesitation, it unleashes a devastating blast, tearing a hole through Lu's chest. This activates the force ejection mechanism in his VR suit as a sudden increase in his heart rate is registered. However, the ejection sequence fails, and the system initiates a forced reboot, which also starts to malfunction. The figure, keeping Lu alive in the game for just a bit longer, allows him to witness the opening ceremony that his brother failed to prevent. A massive digital crack begins forming in the sky, resembling a catastrophic rift ripping the world apart. All across the planet, players observe in horror as similar ominous digital cracks appear, so spreading like fractures in reality itself. These fissures converge into one enormous rupture, synchronizing two worlds in a stunning yet terrifying exhibition of power. As the merger reaches its climax, Zhuang and other boss leaders are summoned. Countless bosses and monstrous creatures are teleported across the globe, poised to unleash mayhem. The winged figure then reveals that this marks the dawn of a new phase in the game, Huanyue version 2.0, Infernal Purgatory. With that, Lu's form begins to gradually fade. As the evil forces advance, the players try to stop them, but are effortlessly defeated as the enemies unleash their devastating spike spell. In a desperate bid to escape, they find their way blocked by Bloodclaw, who ruthlessly slaughters them with his powerful claw strikes. Witnessing this massacre, the remaining players and drop teams band together to mount a counterattack. However, with a single crushing blow, Zhuang sends them all hurtling away like a flurry of feather-light leaves. Satisfied with his overwhelming might, Zhuang commands his minions to gather the souls of the fallen and return to the Blood Moon where they will receive their rewards. This proclamation ignites the monsters' bloodthirst, pushing them to attack with even more ferocity. Meanwhile, in the real world, a young player lies in bed, fully engrossed in the VR game. His mother enters the room, frustrated by his excessive gaming, and scolds him for neglecting everything else. Growing angrier at his lack of response, she forcefully removes his VR helmet only to recoil in horror. Her child lies motionless as if his very essence has been drained away. Similar incidents begin occurring globally, with countless players falling, prey to the game's malevolent trap. News of the crisis spreads swiftly, revealing that nearly 1 billion players are unable to exit the game, seemingly held captive by Destiny Corporation. The situation escalates as protests erupt outside the corporation's headquarters demanding answers. However, security forces hold back the crowds while the CEO of Destiny Corporation calls for patience, assuring everyone that they are working on a resolution. Inside the corporation's conference hall, chaos erupts among the board members. Furious arguments erupt with executives panicking over the company's looming collapse. The CEO hushes the room, demanding an explanation for the crisis. One of the technicians discloses that the primary transmission channel was mysteriously obstructed the previous night, causing players' consciousness to become ensnared in the game. Removing the VR helmets, he cautions, could lead to severe brain injury. As more emergency measures fail, the disputes resume, only to be interrupted once more by the CEO. Without hesitation, he commands an urgent meeting with the president and the hiring of the world's top engineers to resolve the crisis as swiftly as possible. As the board members disperse, the CEO turns his personal monitor. There he observes a live feed from the corporation's covert laboratory. Inside us, Luna lies unconscious, undergoing an enigmatic test. It is now the second day of the logout denial crisis, and news about Destiny Corporation's actions continues to spread like wildfire. Authorities urge everyone to check on their family and friends for any irregularities. Meanwhile, a citywide blackout plunges everything into darkness as the relentless rain continues to pour, rapidly filling the city dam. However, the dam control workers are also trapped within the game, unable to open the floodgates and release the swelling water. Inside the game, one of the trapped workers finds himself pinned against a rock, moments from being torn apart by a monstrous creature. Just before the lethal blow, Faye appears out of nowhere, swiftly dispatching the beast and saving the worker's life. Desperate for information, Faye inquires about Lu's location, but the worker has seen no sign of his brother. Alarmed, Faye leaps into the air hoping to locate Lu elsewhere. Meanwhile, Lu drifts helplessly within the game's corrupted code, his consciousness fading as he feels himself sinking deeper, teetering on the brink of death. At the last instant, the random achievement reward activates, bestowing upon him the fortunate coin of revival. The coin initiates his resurrection, restoring him in a half-human, half-skeleton form at the very graveyard where he first emerged. The dark mage who initially revived him stands before him once more, demanding that Lu kneel. However, Lu rises to his feet, unleashing a surge of power so potent that the mage recoils in fear, quickly apologizing for his arrogance. Within the digital void, the winged figure observing the game's code suddenly detects Lu's re-entry and is shocked by his return. Having personally struck him down, the figure cannot fathom how he has come back. Seeking clarity, it consults the floating spheres, which reveal that Lu's code origin traces back to Blood Moon City. With this revelation, the figure leaves the matter to the city's ruler. In the Blood Moon Lord's hidden realm, a direct command is issued. Eliminate the intruder who has just surfaced in Blood City. In response, the Lord dispatches his most formidable blood slave to confront the threat. Back in the graveyard, Lu's unease intensifies as he realizes that the worlds of monsters and players have now completely merged. Death is no longer temporary. When a player dies, their soul is lost forever. The mastermind behind this chaos is the winged figure, yet Lu remains oblivious to her true identity. However, one thing is certain, his brother is trapped within her domain. As Lu ponders his next move, he spots a figure standing atop a cliff. Before he can react, the blood slave suddenly teleports behind him, poised to strike. Lu quickly realizes that this blood slave is swifter than any opponent he has ever encountered. Without hesitation, the slave summons his sword and lunges forward with a devastating blow. Lu barely manages to parry it. In retaliation, Lu casts his clone spell, merging it with his burst blade, launching a simultaneous assault from both sides. However, the blood slave counters effortlessly, unleashing his horse stomp, creating a massive shockwave that sends both Lu and his clone flying. As the dust settles, the slave dismounts from his horse, introducing himself as Blood Slave and declaring that he has come to take Lu's life. Lu instantly recognizes that this adversary is even stronger than the king he fought previously. With his body still in a weakened state, Retreat seems to be the only option. Just as he considers his escape, the Blood Slave moves with blinding speed, delivering a flashy strike that severs Lu's arm. Overcome by agony, Lu activates his Burst Godspeed spell, sprinting away. The pursuit commences. As Lu escapes, his legs begin to lose all feeling, numbed by the sheer velocity at which he is racing. Understanding he cannot evade his adversary indefinitely, he resolves to leverage the landscape to his benefit. He leaps into a rushing waterway, immediately transforming into his fishman form to plunge into the depths. However, the Blood Slave responds rapidly, unleashing his Blood War explosion. The assault vaporizes all the water in an instant, sending droplets cascading from the sky. As the stream drains us away, the Blood Slave strides through the riverbed, eventually discovering Lu injured on a rock. Lu, barely conscious, experiences an overwhelming sense of disappointment in himself. He wonders if this is genuinely his destiny to perish so easily. Just as his sight begins to fade, a blinding beam descends from the heavens, piercing directly through the Blood Slave. In an instant, his body begins to disintegrate into nothingness. As a digital fissure appears in the air, Lady Wu materializes from within, stepping forward to assist Lu. As the Blood Slave dissipates, the Moon Lord teleports in with his two minions, his voice booming as he demands an explanation for Lady Wu's intervention. Lady Wu pretends ignorance, but Lu feels the immense weight of the Moon Lord's presence, the air becoming heavy and oppressive. When the Moon Lord reiterates his question, his fury escalates, and the air pressure and aura becomes so overpowering that creatures on land, underground, and in the nearby waters flee in fear. The Moon Lord delineates their respective roles, asserting his dominance, insisting that Lady Wu must comply with him. Lady Wu, however, counters that as the person in charge of fund allocation, she must reduce the Blood Moon funds due to shortages and rising taxes. Undaunted, the Moon Lord asserts his dominance, claiming superiority and raw strength, but Lady Wu remains steadfast, continuing to slash their budget. Revealing all the specifics of her decision, Lady Wu lifts Lu into the air, announcing her intention to take him with her. The Moon Lord intervenes, declaring that Master Yue has commanded Lu's demise. Upon hearing this, Lady Wu agrees, but instead of surrendering Lu to the Moon Lord, she takes matters into her own hands. With a quick explosive blast, she severs Lu's head, claiming it as a trophy for adornment, and strides confidently into her portal. The Moon Lord's minions, witnessing her compliance with Master Ye, chatter in astonishment, but their words only fuel the Moon Lord's wrath. Furious that Lady Wu followed Master Yu's commands instead of his, he seizes his minions, mangles them in his grip, and crushes them like crumpled paper. Seething with rage, he vows that one day he will make Lady Wu his obedient servant, forcing her to bow to his will. Meanwhile, in a hidden blood pool within Blood Moon City, Lu begins regenerating from a bloodbath, his skeletal form slowly reconstructing. As the healing process advances, Lu and Lady Wu chat and laugh about incidents from Lu's life, leaving Lu puzzled by their unexpected banter. Lady Wu, stepping into the blood pool, addresses Lu directly, disclosing that she has nothing to gain or lose by aiding him, questioning why she should bother. Lu, speaking sincerely, admits that despite getting closer to the truth, he feels further from his brother than ever and powerless in the face of his obstacles. Desperate, Lu proclaims that he is willing to offer her everything he possesses in exchange for her assistance. As they converse, Lu's body is still regenerating. Hearing his proposal to give her everything, Lady Wu first commands him to lick her feet, every weeb's dream right there. She also wishes for him to open his muff and wiggle in front of her. Our boy, being the soy boy he is, hesitates but then complies, causing embarrassment for both of them. Lady Wu, turning away, praises his resolve, but asserts that his strength at the moment is far weaker than Master Ye's. To provide him perspective, she reveals their world's ranking system. The bottom 9 ranks, the lowest, consist of insects and small creatures. Rising up, the 5th rank includes demons like the Blood Slave who attempted to kill Lu. When Lu displays his disappointment at not being able to defeat the slave, Lady Wu reassures him that they are formidable. Only 1 in 10, 0 attains that level. She continues to explain that the 4th rank, Ferocious, comprises large monsters, while the 3rd rank is the Hall of Masters, which includes herself and Zhuang. The 2nd rank belongs to city lords like the Moon Lord, and according to her, the ultimate 1st rank is reserved for Master Yue. No one knows what she looks like, as she is the goddess of the entire monster realm and controls everything. As Lady Wu reveals all this, she notices the yearning in Lu's expression and suggests that he let go. Yet Lu realizes he has no option. He must retrieve his older brother. He starts to lose himself, unable to envision a path forward, even dragging his sibling into his self-doubt and deeming himself worthless. Out of the blue, Lady Wu pulls him onto her lap for comfort, assuring him that he shouldn't blame himself. She reveals that all his ambitions have consistently been for others, never for his own benefit. She then queries if he has ever felt happiness during a fight or any joy in claiming victory. Hearing the term happiness astounds Lu. Initially, he viewed combat merely as a means to locate his brother, but as his power increased, the battle started to feel tedious. However, as the narrative unfolded, he began to yearn for the fury he experienced in combat. Still, none of the clashes ever brought him genuine happiness until he assembled a team and met true competition against the Daybreak Guild. For the first time, Lu experienced joy, not just the urge to win, but the exhilaration of battle itself. He wished to slash through his foes with all his might. As he allows his feelings to surge, his form begins to shift, turning into a white tiger. Lady Wu observes in disbelief, realizing she has just unleashed a magnificent creature within him. After a moment, Lady Wu instructs Lu to rise from her, making him feel embarrassed. He swiftly regains his composure and inquires about his next steps, but to his astonishment, even Lady Wu has no response. She attempts to think of something, but in her uncertainty, she inadvertently shows that she is unsure. However, she suddenly remembers something. His brother Han once mentioned that the Hall Master of the Southern Hall possesses a secret technique that enhances one's physique. Upon hearing this, Lu is instantly confident that his brother wouldn't be mistaken. Lady Wu concurs that it's worth pursuing and suggests he go after it. However, before he departs, she cautions him about a serious risk. She has a poor relationship with the other hall members, and if they discover that he is her disciple, he will be in serious peril. She advises him to depend entirely on himself. Disguised as a skeleton, Lu strolls through Blood Moon City surrounded by various monsters. His mind is still processing everything that has occurred. He understands that if he wishes to become stronger, this city must serve as his launching pad, a place where he can develop his power, eliminate anyone who obstructs his path, including Yue, and ultimately find his brother. His first stop is the Southern Hao Te Tower, a venue where the master of the Southern Hall often comes to enjoy fine dining. As Lu approaches the entrance, the guards block his way and demand to know his purpose for entering. Without a moment's hesitation, he boldly states that he has come to eat. The guards erupt in laughter, ridiculing him for even daring to think he is worthy. One of them, still smiling, releases a roar and sends Lu flying with a single blow, declaring that he doesn't meet the criteria. Remembering Lady Wu's advice about depending on himself, Lu picks himself up and heads back to the guards. Just as they prepare to strike him again, he quickly fabricates a story, claiming to be a chef sent to cook for the hallmaster. The guards, now serious, immediately apologize and allow him in without question. Inside, a monstrous assistant greets Lu and begins guiding him through the hall. As he follows her, he overhears diners praising the exquisite cuisine. The assistant leads him down to the basement where 4 chefs are already diligently preparing their dishes. Lu is instructed to wait for his turn. The chefs invest their blood, sweat, and expertise into their meals, each determined to impress. As the final moments tick away, the host announces that time is up and the staff rushes in to collect the dishes. The tension in the air is palpable as the chefs observe their creations being taken to the hallmaster for evaluation. A while later, the host returns with the hallmaster's decision and begins ruthlessly criticizing all of them for their errors. As they plead for another opportunity, they are executed on the spot without hesitation. Lu watches apathetically as the assistant places a hand on his shoulder, informing him that it is now his turn. The assistant escorts Lu to the dressing room to change his outfit first while he remains annoyed at Lady Wu for once more deceiving him into believing this was merely an ordinary cooking contest. A bit uncertain, Lu steps into the dressing room and instantly spots a gigantic man across from him, the rival he will confront. The large guy appears displeased, referring to Lu as a novice and asserting he feels offended to be paired against him. With a scowl, he slams the door in Lu's face. In contrast, another chef reacts quite differently. Rather than hostility, he praises Lu's presence, though he cautions him that only one of them will emerge from the competition. This disconcerting remark makes Lu recognize the harsh truth. If he fails, there's a 75% likelihood he won't merely be disqualified. He'll be eliminated. As Lu completes his change, the competition commences. Each chef, including Lu, stands behind their assigned cooking station. The host advances, introducing himself and outlining the rules. The competitors must utilize the ingredients provided, and they have 1 hour to finish their dish. As Lu gazes at the pan before him, a memory resurfaces. Long ago, he used to cook for his brother, who always adored his meals. The nostalgia hangs for a brief moment before he snaps back to the present as the host delivers the next instruction. The host directs everyone to lift the lids in front of them to uncover their ingredients, allowing them 2 minutes to familiarize themselves. With a deep breath, Lu removes his lid only to freeze in terror. Sprawled before him is not a selection of fresh ingredients, but the lifeless body of the previous chef. The host cautions the contestants not to waste ingredients through poor culinary skills, as the master has no patience for such carelessness. After a brief moment of rambling, he officially proclaims the competition's start. The lavishly haired chef is given a large boar's head as his main ingredient, while the bald, ill-tempered chef receives goblin meat. Meanwhile, Lu stands still, staring at the decaying flesh in front of him, his mind racing with doubt. Turning such an ingredient into something edible feels nearly insurmountable. After a brief moment of contemplation, realization dawns. He can counteract the spoilage with intense umami and a bold, spicy flavor profile, transforming it into a dish representative of Sichuan cuisine. With a renewed strategy in mind, he selects the tenderloin and commences the necessary preparations. The marination phase proves to be the most crucial step. Lu recognizes that meat in such a deplorable condition requires an extended time to soak up the flavors and become remotely palatable. As he methodically works, the lavishly haired chef observes, seemingly impressed by his resolve to tackle such a challenging ingredient. However, both he and the bald chef remain engrossed in their own tasks, fervently breaking down and tenderizing their respective meats to ensure optimal texture. With 20 minutes remaining, the competition area is filled with the sharp sizzle of cooking meat. Lu stays completely absorbed in his work, carefully frying his marinated tenderloin, determined to execute his dish to the best of his abilities. However, the two-headed chef remains fixated on his assigned ingredient, 2 severed human heads. His hands shake as the weight of the competition bears down on him. Unable to contain his rising panic, he grabs his own knife and slashes his throat. Blood gushes from the wound in a violent spray, splattering across his workstation and coating Lu's marinated meat in blood. As the chef takes his own life, his blood sprays over the workstation, tainting the ingredients of the other competitors. Lu promptly informs the judge that his meat has been ruined, but the host dismisses his concerns, stating that the hall master has commanded him to proceed with the competition. Despite Lu's objections, the host assures him that there are still 15 minutes remaining, urging him to press on. However, as Lu examines his meat, now soaked in blood, he becomes increasingly anxious. The overpowering stench has turned putrid, carrying an unsettling fishy odor. Even worse, with no time left to marinate the meat again, his chances of success seem dim. Meanwhile, the lavishly haired chef moves gracefully, skillfully transforming his pork into dumplings while performing a mesmerizing dance-like technique. The bald chef also works diligently, crafting meatballs from troll meat, which surprisingly look quite appetizing. Lu observes his rivals approaching the finish while he himself has nothing ready, and with merely 8 minutes left, his predicament seems dire. Yet, despite his hopelessness, he remains resolute. With no alternatives, he swiftly starts frying the tainted meat, determined to make the best of the situation. As the last seconds count down, the host hits the buzzer, signaling the conclusion of the round and calls for all chefs to display their creations. The lush-haired chef proudly presents his expertly crafted pork dumplings, while the bald chef showcases his troll meat dumplings. Each dish, including Lu's, is placed before the host for assessment. After a short discussion, the host declares that one dish has especially captured the hall master's interest, leading her to personally provide her feedback. Suddenly, the massive circular structure behind the host shifts, unveiling a colossal monster. Perched atop its enormous belly is the Southern Hall Master, Jai Sui. She begins her evaluation with the lush-haired chef's dish, commending its quality and granting him passage to the next stage. Next, she inspects the bald chef's troll meatballs, approving them as well and allowing him to progress to the qualification round. However, as she samples his meatball soup, her expression turns grim. Displeased by the flavor, she silently draws her cleaver and with terrifying swiftness chops the bald chef into pieces. Lu watches in disbelief, unable to grasp the sheer rapidity of her strike. It occurs so quickly that he doesn't even witness the motion. Now it is Lu's moment. As Jai Sui examines his dish, her expression transforms into one of astonishment. Gazing at the disarray in front of her, she seems genuinely baffled, questioning if it can even be labeled a dish. As Jai clutches her cleaver, Lu hurriedly assures her that his dish is indeed a legitimate one, scrambled eggs with tomatoes. The lush-haired chef bursts into laughter upon hearing this, ridiculing Lu for creating such a basic dish. He had initially overvalued Lu's abilities, but now he regards him as a joke. Nonetheless, Lu remains optimistic, knowing that such a combination has never been seen in the monster realm before, which might play to his advantage. Despite its unremarkable appearance, Jai decides to give it a taste. After just one bite, she is instantly impressed. With that, she prepares to declare the winner. Both Lu and the lush-haired chef eagerly await the verdict, curious about who will seize victory. Suddenly, the lush-haired chef objects, claiming that Lu failed to use the designated ingredients and should be disqualified. Before he can continue his tirade, a sudden flash darts through the air, slicing him into multiple segments as effortlessly as chopping a cucumber salad. Jai, having lost patience with his continual complaints, is responsible for the swift execution. Though the lush-haired chef was indeed the rightful winner of the competition, his demise makes the decision straightforward. Jai officially proclaims Lu as the champion. Hearing this, Lu introduces himself and Jai follows suit, asking what reward he wishes. Without delay, Lu kneels before her and expresses his desire to learn her secret technique for enhancing physical strength. For Jai, fulfilling this request isn't a problem, but first she needs to determine Lu's rank. When he admits that he is unaware of it himself, she instructs him to remove his shirt and follow her. Jai and her monstrous companion lead Lu to a towering structure known as the Rank Tower. This tower naturally determines one's rank upon entry, with its 6 floors corresponding to different levels from poor to ferocious. Thanking her, Lu steps inside. On the first floor marked poor, he immediately encounters an assassin rabbit. However, before the rabbit can even react, Lu effortlessly decapitates it and continues to the next floor. Meanwhile, outside the tower, The monstrous companion queries Jai about why she deceived Lu into entering the rabbit cage tower despite him winning the competition. Jai smirks and reveals her reasoning. She strongly suspects Lu is a spy sent by Lady Wu, as she can still sense her scent on him. When the monster attempts to pose another question, Jai abruptly raises her fist and slams him into the ground, declaring that she only consented to answer one. With a playful giggle, she observes Lu's progress, convinced that she has successfully trapped him. Within the tower, Lu moves up to the second floor warrior, where he easily overcomes a colossal mallet-wielding rabbit. On the third floor, he defeats a scholarly rabbit, employing a mix of his clone spell and rending burst. Upon reaching the fourth floor, he meets a noticeably more powerful rabbit wielding a staff. This adversary puts up a struggle, compelling Lu to engage in a vigorous confrontation. As they clash, Lu realizes that the malevolent spirit rank rabbit is almost equal to Feng regarding combat prowess. However, as the rabbit continues its unyielding strikes, Lu detects a chance. With a powerful blow, he sends the rabbit crashing into the wall, vanquishing it. On the fifth demon floor, Lu confronts the Shadow Art rabbit, a fierce-looking opponent. The rabbit proclaims that he possesses 5 swords and will utilize each one only once. If Lu survives all 5 assaults, he will be permitted to advance. Accepting the challenge, Lu prepares himself as the rabbit quickly unsheathes the first sword. In a flash, a single slash cleaves through the air, hitting Lu and propelling him backward from the sheer force. Struggling to regain his footing, Lu demands the second sword strike. The rabbit complies, unleashing a massive energy beam. Although Lu manages to deflect it, the immense force forces him backward, dragging him across the ground. Only 2 swords have been drawn, yet Lu already senses his body nearing its limit. Aware that the next strike will be even harder to endure, he formulates a plan. He combines his shadow clone technique with Hidden Abyss to launch a surprise attack on the rabbit. The rabbit, impressed by Lu's cleverness, acknowledges his strategy but quickly retaliates. Unsheathing his third sword, he executes a single swing that not only obliterates the clone but also disrupts the Hidden Abyss spell, causing Lu to crash to the ground. Realizing the increasing ferocity of the struggle, Lu transforms into his Asura form. The rabbit, sensing the transformation, comments that Lu is no ordinary contender. With that, he draws his 4th sword and swings. Lu attempts to fend off the blow, but the sheer might of the strike slams into his stomach, sending him crashing to the ground once again. Despite being knocked down, the rabbit commends Lu, recognizing him as an exceptional challenger who has compelled him to unsheathe the 4th sword, a feat that had defeated thousands prior. Meanwhile, Lu, spitting blood, realizes a surprising change. His body has grown significantly stronger since entering Wu's blood pool. With renewed resolve, he steadies himself and requests the final sword strike. With that, the rabbit unsheathes his gift sword, which to Lu's shock is bladeless, a spectral weapon embodying a ghost spirit. Unlike a traditional sword, this one does not pierce flesh, but instead severs the soul. As Lu braces himself, the rabbit swings at him with full force. The moment the attack connects, Lu experiences an overwhelming dizziness, understanding that this is not a physical strike but a mental one. In an instant, his surroundings morph, and he finds himself transported into a vast emptiness. Before him, he and the rabbit are seated on a colossal balance scale with 2 swords levitating above their heads. The rabbit begins to chatter about the balance of bitterness and sweetness in one's actions. As he speaks, the scale gradually tilts in his favor. Lu quickly realizes that this is a psychological contest, a debate where conviction determines the winner. Grasping the essence of the challenge, Lu starts expressing his own philosophy, arguing that bitterness and sweetness coexist, creating equilibrium in life. The rabbit counters his assertion, insisting that if that were the case, pain and joy should be equal. Lu disputes this, and the argument escalates as both remain steadfast in their beliefs about life and death. Suddenly, Lu's vision shifts. He sees a snow-covered winter landscape, which then shatters, revealing the floor beneath them. Standing before him, the rabbit concedes his defeat, admitting that he has yet to fully grasp the meaning of life and death. Lu, however, asserts that everyone has their own viewpoint, just as no 2 leaves are precisely alike. The rabbit, intrigued by this remark, praises Lu's insight and permits him to move on to the next floor. But as Lu turns to depart, the rabbit, now sporting a malevolent expression, ominously proclaims that they will encounter each other again shortly. Now on the 6th floor, fierce, Lu instantly senses he doesn't quite fit in, believing he isn't strong enough to belong here yet. However, to his astonishment, an elderly rabbit is seated in front of him, casually inviting him to engage in a game of 5 in a row. Lu, mistrusting the situation, promptly activates his Asura mode and leaps toward the rabbit, slashing at him, but to his astonishment, it was simply an illusion. Before he can respond, the old rabbit seizes his wrist as if evaluating his strength. Lu, now infuriated, unleashes a barrage of strikes, but they all pass right through the rabbit as though he were a specter. Observing calmly, the rabbit encourages him to strike more swiftly. Then, without warning, he picks up a single game piece and tosses it at Lu, instantly ending his life. The next instant, Lu opens his eyes and is shocked to find himself back on the 1st floor. Baffled, he begins to ponder whether he has somehow completed the ranking trial. However, The rabbit smirks and reveals the truth that this is not some esteemed ranking tower, but rather a rabbit cage tower, and Lu has fallen victim to an elaborate prank orchestrated by the Tower Master. Hearing this, Lu is left in total disbelief. Meanwhile, in Dongye's main hall, Lady Wu sits in her office surrounded by enormous stacks of receipts. Casting a glance at them, she briefly thinks about Lu, but quickly brushes the thought aside, realizing that she shouldn't indulge him too much. With that, she sighs and decides to take a nap instead. Back in the city, it is the 5th day of the crisis and the blackout persists. An increasing number of players are being transported to hospitals, with some even experiencing cardiac arrests. Due to the overwhelming volume of critical cases, hospitals are reaching their full capacity. Even after performing CPR, doctors are unable to revive many of the patients. With so many fatalities, the hospital staff are becoming despondent, reduced to merely administering nutrients and fluids to keep the players alive, leaving the rest to chance. Meanwhile, in Paxis, a neutral city where fighting and killing are strictly forbidden, chaos reigns. The once protected zone is turned into a slaughterhouse overrun by monstrous beings hunting down players. The monsters show no mercy, brutally slaying anyone they encounter. A few players remain hidden, clinging to their dwindling hope, but they are trapped, unable to log out of the game or alter their fate. As their leader attempts to rally them with words of encouragement, providing a glimmer of hope that they might escape, a colossal monster suddenly crashes through their hiding spot, exposing them. The sight of the creature freezes the leader in his tracks. He recognizes it immediately. It is the Serpent Demon. Before he can react, the demon lunges at him, decapitating him in a single swift movement before devouring his head. The remaining 2 players, gripped by terror, erupt into a desperate sprint. One of them, acting purely out of self-preservation, suddenly slashes the other's leg, declaring that he refuses to die and is using him as bait, but his betrayal is in vain. The Serpent Demon closes in, unleashing her corrosive breath, killing them both in an instant. As their souls are ripped from their bodies, she greedily consumes them. But just as she completes her meal, her gaze locks onto 2 distant figures cloaked in robes. One of the figures steps forward and appears to be searching for someone, inquiring whether the Serpent Demon has encountered a dark-skinned man wielding dual daggers. The Serpent Demon merely dismisses the question, more interested in consuming them. However, her dismissive demeanor infuriates the robed figure. Before the serpent can strike, Faye arrives engulfed in blazing flames and strikes her with overwhelming force. Fueled by fury, he mercilessly pummels her, pinning her down as he repeatedly demands to know if she has seen his brother. Chili, the other robed figure, rushes forward attempting to halt him, but Faye, consumed by his emotions, reduces the Serpent Demon to ashes. Knowing how hard Faye is on himself, Chili grabs him from behind, urging him to slow down, but Faye refuses. He understands that with countless lives at stake, there is no time to pause.